Anyway, welcome to the Permanent Mark Podcast. My name is Mike. I am your host. Today we have Stephanie Vasquez here, who's running for Pasco County Pasco County District 2.
Commission District 2,
District
yes.
2. Yeah.
Yes.
Words are hard. So welcome to the show. How are you?
Thank you. I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm walking on sunshine. Happy Sunday to you.
Yeah, it's a nice day out.
Yeah. So thanks for coming on the show. Obviously, we have a lot that we're going to try to discuss and cover in our time here. I'd like to start a little bit with kind of why you decided to run and what your plan is, and then we'll talk a little bit about your life and things like that. But if you want to tell everybody, actually, let's start with that. Let's tell people about you a little bit. Tell me where you're from and what you've been up to.
Okay, so start with kind of backstory.
Yeah, backstory.
On where I'm from. Okay.
Let's episode 1 of this.
In 1985.
Yeah.
No. Yeah.
I was birthed.
Yeah. We're going all the way back.
Yeah, all the way back. I remember a light.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so I was born in Flint, Michigan.
Okay.
My family I have 3 sisters, so there were 4 of us girls and our 2 parents in Flint, Michigan. And my dad was a Marine, but he was out by that time. And at that point, he was going to college and working at a drugstore. And I don't remember exactly how long it was that he went to college, but my mom says it was like 10 years.
Okay.
And maybe it wasn't that long. But the period of time that we were really poor is really like what's important there.
Right.
It's like this part-time drugstore income while he's also going to school was what the family of 6 had.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we were in Flint, Michigan. We lived on a dirt road in the city, which I always say, if you're living on a dirt road in the city, like,
Yeah.
you might know what I'm talking
Probably
about.
make a step up or two if you had to.
Yeah. So, and that was life, and we made it through, and there was a lot of love in the family, but it was difficult, and my parents made that clear all the time. It was always a conversation. We don't have enough money. We can't do this. No sports. No this. No that.
No funds. That would be fun.
Yeah. It was just an ever-present reality that we didn't have enough.
Yeah.
And so that was very formative to me. And when we get in the conversation later about why am I running and what do I really want to fight for, I think it's driven a lot from those early experiences because we were on government assistance for many years, and we were the family that people would get those little angel tree. People would select our family and show up.
Roller skates.
Basically like Santa Claus.
Yeah.
Somebody would deliver gifts on Christmas Eve to our house, and that's how
Kids,
we
if
had
you're out
Christmas.
there, Santa Claus is real.
It is real.
Yes,
He is real.
Real Santa Claus.
Yeah, because strangers would just deliver gifts right to our house. So.
Yeah, that's it's funny. I didn't know because I didn't really go that. It's got the basics. I didn't know you were from Flint and that area. Talk about a place that was booming at one time and then just completely took a nosedive. And then of course they've had all those water issues for the last 20 plus years or whatever it has been. They've had countless economic falls over and over again, and it just seems like it's, especially I think maybe since. Probably the last 5 years when they were really talking extensively about how terrible the water quality is there. I don't feel like, obviously nobody's moving there like they are here. Everybody's leaving those areas because I think to what you're probably going to talk about is their local government has failed them in some way. And it started a long, long time ago. It wasn't this issue. It wasn't that. It was decades ago, prior to probably even your family being there.
Absolutely. And I think it's a really good example of how local government matters. Yeah. And it started with the auto industry moving out of there. And, I actually haven't done the history. I don't know all of the nuances of what exactly happened that moved them out. But the fact is the auto industry has really moved out of there. And that's what was supporting the Flint, the Detroit metro areas, all of these areas that since then have really struggled to find their place, find their name, find an economy that can support the people that live there. And so, crime rates have gone up and dependence on government systems has gone up, and then the whole water thing. And it just is a really good example of what happens when, like you said, they're being failed over and over again, and there doesn't seem to be any solutions that are long lasting. I have a lot of family that still lives in that area, the Flint, Davison, Burton, Detroit areas. And it's challenging out there for them to make it. Yeah,
because like you said, most of the industry moved out of there, moved to, overseas, or even a lot of what. Honestly, there's stuff that could have been done there that had been planned to do in California with certain things. I know there's different, obviously going back to local governments and state governments, incentives to do certain things, but to have the auto industry move out of there because of there's a million reasons for it. I don't really, it doesn't, again, this is not a party issue.
Yeah.
This is a somebody didn't do the right thing issue.
Yeah.
Which, I think we had church this morning and they were talking about how obviously we're in the middle of a national tragedy and how people need to still forget about how you affiliate. It's about what's doing best for the community. And I think that's gone out the window a whole lot. So, but again, we'll maybe take a deep dive into that in a minute. I want to talk about growing up in a house like that with, sisters and your parent. And what did your dad go to school for?
He eventually got a degree in electrical engineering.
Oh, which is excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah.
And so it was the kind of this slow progression. It's funny when you're kids, you think your family situation is what everybody's is. Like, you just think it's normal. And so the progression of my family was like poverty, from the start, and then low middle class, maybe not even middle class, but we thought we were rich. I remember he got a job offer after graduating from college and it was paying $30,000 a year. And this was probably in the 90s. So, I mean,
it wasn't nothing.
We were jumping for joy. Like, it was like we hit the lottery. We were so excited,
We're gonna make it. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's just like this slow progression of relying on the government a little less. And it just really taught me, like, for me, education is so important. I know, and I value technical schools and trainings and things like that. It doesn't have to be necessarily a 4-year degree, but for me, I saw in my real life how the difference between having that education and the opportunities that it brings and not having that. And so I've always really focused on that.
And I think sometimes, regardless of what your path is, whether it's tech school or learning a skill, because there's a huge gap in skilled workmanship in the country, not just here in Pasco, let alone. The skilled workman it doesn't exist because, unfortunately, I think there was a big generation that thought, well, maybe college is the only way, and that's not necessarily true. You can do a lot of things without a college degree, but there has to be a drive, right?
Yeah.
Which is, I think, what your father had, regardless of what it was. He was still working. He was going to school. He was trying to better the life of you and your sister. Were you the middle or the oldest?
I'm the third.
You're the
so
third.
one of the middle.
Yeah. So you had constantly hand-me-downs, so you didn't have to worry about nothing, right? So so you went to school there. When did y'all move? Like, what was the final destination? You left there when? How old were you?
So then in middle school, we left Michigan to move to Illinois. And so just to kind of backtrack just a little bit. So in Flint, in the demographics that we lived in, like when I went to elementary school, I was one of like maybe 4 or 5 white kids in the classroom. And so I grew up with a very culturally diverse environment when I was in elementary school. And not to say at all that I am a minority, I'm not, but in that environment, I think it was really key to grow up and like see all of the different people there and to feel what it feels like to be like certainly the only redhead with big glasses in the class, but one of the only kids who looked like me, and just have like an empathy for what that experience is just at a small level. Because then after we moved to Illinois, it was completely the opposite. We moved to this rural town outside of Peoria, and there were no kids of color at all in the school, in the town. And so it was just like this dichotomy of, oh my gosh, now it's the opposite, and what's going on here, and why don't we have any diversity, and things like that. And then I remember there was one black family that moved to our town, and of course I became friends with the girl, and I'm still friends with her on Facebook to this day, but they didn't stay very long because they really weren't treated very well in that town because of just the environment that it was. And so I think that those kinds of experiences helped me to just kind of like have empathy for the different sides of the spectrum, and just to have empathy for, like, I know what it's like to sit in a class where, everybody else looks different than you and you're the only one that kind of stands out. And then I know what it's like to see somebody come in and now they feel like that. They feel like the outsider, maybe are treated a little bit differently. And so I think that was important.
Yeah, it's interesting because, in Flint, obviously you're all in the same economic pool, right? There's, and then within that economic pool, it's a lot, probably deeper is the right word to use, because you have a lot of more diversity that way. And you move to a place like Illinois, and it's not, first of all, not that diverse to begin with, and then second of all, he's working as an electrical engineer there, probably, right? So you're maybe living in a little nicer part of town or whatever it is. What do you attribute that to in that region of the country you lived in? Why do you think it's like that? Yeah, I don't know that it's like that today, but back then, this is the mid 90s at this point, right?
Late 90s at this point. I think it's very similar to like a lot of small town America where there isn't always a lot of diversity. It was very much reminiscent of a lot of the other small towns in the area. Like the city had diversity, Peoria. You have all different cultures and backgrounds and colors and all of that in Peoria and economic levels. But then when you get out to the little farm towns, there just wasn't a lot of that. And I think that's still the case in many small towns in America. And, whatever works for them, you know. But it was just, I remember it being jarring to me coming from one environment and then going to the other and
like
thinking what?
Yeah, it's like a splash. You come down and you've got this shared experience with your classmates and your friends, and then first of all, you're torn away from all that to a different part of well, not much different, but still different, into a different culture, right? And that's like, even going back to, because we've been here forever, we've seen so many changes and in a lot of different ways about our county, which, it's not necessarily always a bad thing, but, there's pros and cons to everything, like you said.
Yeah. So, and then moving to Wesley Chapel, when I eventually moved to Florida as an adult, I moved here with my 3 kids, and I chose Wesley Chapel in Pasco County really because there's a ton of diversity here. The kids in the public schools, I mean, my kids go to school with kids from all different backgrounds, and I thought that was so cool and interesting and important. And so that was actually one of the reasons that I chose the Wesley Chapel area when we moved here.
Yeah. So there's a big story in between the two of coming from, where you're at to Pasco County.
Yeah.
So, so you lived in Illinois for how long?
Middle school through high school.
Okay. And
I finished out high school there. Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And how was that?
I loved the Air Force. Yeah, I loved the Air Force. You were military, right?
No?
Oh, why did I think that?
I don't know. I get that a lot.
You give the vibe.
Yeah.
Yeah. I joined the Air Force when I was 21. I had started doing community college right out of high school.
Okay.
And
did you know then what you were going to do? Like when you...
You know what I wanted to be?
Yeah.
I wanted to be a talk show host. I was
Oh
studying broadcast journalism.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
That's probably why some of your TikToks are so good.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah. It's like, but that was always like the long lost dream that had gotten away because, so I was going to school for broadcast journalism. Now, another caveat about my family growing up is we grew up very strict. My family, my parents were very strict. We were in church all the time, very conservative Christian, strict family. Okay. And so, I mean,
With the red hair, I would have guessed like Irish Catholic, but Christian.
No, we're Christian, Nazarene, Baptist, Pentecostal, kind of bounced around at the different ones. But I forget what I was saying. Oh, so then, once I hit college, it was kind of like a textbook experience where like you go from a very strict household to freedom, and I was just having too much fun and, didn't do as well in college as I had planned on doing initially.
Where did you go?
It was a community college that I started out at in Illinois, Illinois Central College.
It happens a lot at those like community colleges. Like, I'm out of the house. I can do what I want.
Yeah.
And I do think that there's been, because we're about the same, I think about the same age. I'm 41. So,
okay, I'm 40.
So I did not go to college. I didn't know what I was going to do at all. So I've been in sales for a very long time, and that's what I've done my entire life. But I always kind of knew that my wife has been after me probably for a decade now to do something like this, whether it was public speaking or teaching or something like that. When we started this late last year, we really started. We did like 5 test episodes. Nobody's ever seen them, and you never will, with some friends and stuff like that. And it came out pretty good. We're like, well, we're going to give it a real shot and see how it goes.
Yeah.
But you never know if you're out there and you're 20-something years old, like you don't know what you're doing, and that you shouldn't be doing anything that's going to drastically change the trajectory of your life just because you're in college and you think it's the cool thing to do. Most people have values when they get there. I think I had values when I was, a knucklehead at 18. She would know, but stick to your values and, don't let the machine get you. Cause I think that's a big problem with universities now. There's a lot of inclusivity and diversity at the same time. Mm-hmm. Going back to what you were saying, you have this great mix of people that go to college and have different walks of life, and whether it's community college or regular college, there's a lot. I feel like there is a lot of baked-in diversity and a lot of derivatives that are pushed on kids when they get there, because when you're still, and if you're 20, you're still a kid, just so you know, they're anxious to change your mind on things, to change your point of view.
Yeah, I guess I didn't have that experience.
You probably didn't. No, because if you went right into the military and you had a good head.
Yeah, it was more just being surrounded by people that had a different background than I had, and just kind of like, it wasn't taught in the classes
Right.
ever, this way or that way. I mean, we're
Right.
taking English and broadcasting and math and stuff like that. But it was being around, especially when I was in the military, it was just being around people from different parts of the country and who were from wealthier, not so many in the military. They don't typically join, but some wealthier backgrounds. And then, people from much more extreme poverty than I had grown up in, people from all different cultures. Like the military is a great melting pot of people from all over. And then, we were stationed overseas in Germany. And so to meet the people out on the economy and the German folks over there, and like, it wasn't just German people that worked on base, but there were people from all over the world that would work on base or that would interact with us. And so it was more so just the experiences of seeing how different people lived and how similar we actually all are, no matter if we do have a different skin color or culture or religion or things like that. Like we have so many similarities.
I totally agree, and I think that people don't take advantage of that human connection nearly enough. It's a very strange time that we live in right now, and people really need to figure out how to get together. I mean, we're not going to go deep down this hole, but they need to figure out how to get connected and unify on things rather than trying to figure out what all of our differences are and then fight about them. It's absolutely insane.
I agree completely.
It's crazy because people are out there losing their lives over it, which is unnecessary completely.
Absolutely.
Yeah. College. So you went to community college, a couple of years there, and then was it like a dual thing where you like finish community college? Oh wait, I'm going to go join the Air Force and then get your credits? Or?
It was not in the plan.
Okay, all right,
at the
cool.
time,
Yeah,
I was
that's
not.
what I'm getting at.
Yeah, I was not going to college thinking I'm going to join the military. I was going to college thinking I'm going to be Oprah because I'm going to be a news anchor and then be a talk show host. In my young mind, like that was the path that I was trying to take. But it just didn't work out that well. And so
it's never too late.
Yeah. Here we are. Yeah. So I joined the Air Force specifically. I looked into all of the different branches. I was looking to do broadcasting in the military.
Okay.
I was like, that's what I'll do. I'll go and I'll get paid and I'll get to travel and see the world and I'll still get to do this job and blah, 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 blah. But the problem was I didn't have anybody guiding me. I walked my little self into the recruiter's office and said, hi, I'd like to join the Air Force. Because I had looked online at the jobs available and they just had the most jobs related to that. They had photography and broadcasting and journalism and all.
Blanket statement.
Yeah, they had
Media.
just like 5 different jobs that I was like, I'd be good with any of those jobs.
Yeah.
So I walked in the recruiter's office and I said, hi, I'm going to join the Air Force. And I remember him looking at me, he goes, well, that was easy. Like, he didn't have to do any work at all.
No recruiting whatsoever.
Yeah.
It's like, here you go.
Yeah.
Sign right here.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I did, and I was excited.
21-year-old self went in there.
Yep. But the problem was, if I had had more guidance, I would have gotten a job contracted in to that, which is really the way to go if you're joining the military.
As a contractor?
You can specify what job you want and put it in your contract.
Yeah.
And so after basic training, you have to get that job.
Yeah.
I didn't do that. I didn't know that I should do that. I went in open general, which means I was open to any job that the Air Force wanted to put me in. And then the recruiter said, oh, but we'll put those 5 jobs on your dream sheet, on your sheet of jobs. Like you're probably going to get one of those because that's what that's what you're telling us you want. No. No. I was airfield management. I remember seeing that in basic training when all the jobs come out. I was like, airfield management, like what is that?
So you point at planes?
No, not that. No, not that.
What is that?
Yeah, airfield management is like it's like the people that manage the whole airfield. So yeah, we did everything from flight plans to weather notices to inspecting the lighting systems and making sure the pavement wasn't cracked and crumbling and any construction on the airfield or anybody driving on the airfield.
Okay. That sounds actually a little bit stressful.
Yeah, it was kind of fun though because we did have some fun things. So we worked closely with pilots and air traffic control, of course, but animals aren't allowed on the airfield. And so we had all of these different things that we could do to make sure that the animals weren't on, because they can get sucked into the jet engines.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. And so
we've seen it,
Yeah. And birds will take down a whole aircraft.
I know, it's crazy.
Yeah. So we would have like noisemakers that we would shoot off. They had, I want to say it was paintball gun. Maybe it wasn't paintball guns, but it was like, they weren't real bullets. I forget what those things are called. But anyway, if there were deer or things like that, we would go out there. Usually we used noisemakers. We'd like pop it off and it would scare the animals away. But in Germany, there was a guy who we called the falconer.
Okay.
You know what that is?
Yeah.
Yeah, so he had his
throwing
falcon.
birds at people.
Yeah,
or not people.
Okay,
we're not throwing birds at people. We're throwing at other animals smaller than the falcon, typically. Not the deers, probably. They didn't give a crap, right?
I don't remember if it
I
ever
can't
got a
imagine,
deer.
yeah.
Yeah, but we had a lot of rabbits, very large
Yeah.
rabbits on
Yeah.
at the air base. We was at Ramstein Air Base,
Okay.
and so this falconer would come and he would have his glove and he would
Yeah.
unleash the falcon. It was incredible, and
Yeah.
they would go and it would kill an animal, and then it would
Bring
come
it-
back to him.
They have
So,
a guy
yeah.
on TikTok that does that. He does it for pigeons. It's
Really?
the craziest thing. Yeah, he'll be so somebody drives and he rides with the window down and the falcon sits on his is looking at. He can see it,
Yeah.
and then he goes like this, and the falcon takes off, and it'll take out like maybe 2 at a time.
I know, it's
like,
incredible.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
crazy. What blows my mind, honestly, about that, not to go down a rabbit hole because I'm going to, is that they know exactly what to do and come back. Like,
Yeah.
they're so highly specialized at killing small things, and then they come right back to you like, "What's up? Can we do it again?"
Yeah,
Yeah,
and they don't.
It's like the bird version of a mountain wall or something like that.
It's so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's crazy.
It's kind of terrifying to see it do it in person, but it's cool.
How many years were you in Germany?
I was in Nebraska first. My
Okay.
first duty station was at Offutt Air Force Base in Nebraska, and then I was in Germany. So I was only there for a year and a half, and I was supposed to be there for 3 years.
Okay.
So we can get into that if you want.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's what we're here for.
Yeah.
This is your show. I'm just here moderating. Yeah. Yeah.
So I was married at the time to my husband at the time, who was also in the Air Force. We met at tech school in Mississippi, and that's who my kid's father is.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was pregnant with our first child, Dominic, and all is good, everything's going swimmingly.
Yeah.
And we had, the early ultrasound and then the 20-week ultrasound, which is where they check for everything. They check for, of course, the gender, which is everybody is excited about, but they're measuring everything, and everything was fine. They were like, great, good, clean bill of health, be on your way. And so the plan was that we were going to, have Dominic in Germany and stay there for the remainder of our tour there. And, that's what we were going to do. But I kept getting this nagging thought that I wanted to get those 3D ultrasound pictures.
Yeah, which was all the craze then.
Yeah, it was. But it cost money. It wasn't
Wasn't free.
it's extra. And so I was really debating, should I do it? Should I not do it? I don't really want to spend $100, but and I eventually, when I was 8 months pregnant, thought, okay, I'm never going to be able to get these pictures again. Once he's born, I won't be able to get these pictures. So let me just do it. So we went to this German doctor. It's called On the Economy, just one that wasn't on the base, to get these 3D pictures done. And this doctor has got his wand and he's doing this and not saying anything. And we're waiting and waiting and waiting. And he's looking and looking and looking. And then eventually he speaks in broken English, which I appreciate because I don't speak German. So I appreciate anybody who can speak another language. But eventually he was like, I think your baby's intestines are floating by its head. Yeah. We were like, what? What do you mean? And in broken English, he's trying to explain what he's seeing. He's like, I can't be sure, but I think that the intestines are floating around. And so, we go into his little office and he's like, I put together this DVD of pictures and videos for you. You should go to your own doctor and have them look at this. So we were like, well, what does this mean? And he just goes, your baby could die. And we were like, okay, of course. We have a whole meltdown in the
panic.
elevator leaving there. It's just like, this is our first kid. What are we doing? So we went to the ER on base. We went directly there and are trying to give them this DVD and saying, listen, just telling this whole story. He told us to come here. He's saying the intestines are out. We don't know what this means. And the lady behind the counter just was not having it. I think she just thought I was a pregnant lady who wanted to get more pictures of my baby. She just was not taking it serious at all. And she's like, really?
Yeah.
Well, we're not going to give you an ultrasound right now. And I'm like, can you just look at the pictures on this? And so finally we convince her to do it. And she comes back basically with her tail between her legs saying like, all right, well, it does appear to be something's going on here.
Yeah.
So long story short, he was born with a condition called gastroschisis, which is in fact when the intestines are growing outside of his body in the womb. And so basically when babies are forming, their tummy skin grows closed. And with babies with gastroschisis, it just doesn't close all the way. So in his 20-week scan, maybe the intestines were still where they were supposed to be. They hadn't come out of that hole yet. But by this time, they were all out. And eventually, by the time he was born, it was intestines, it was stomach, it was liver, like everything that was supposed to be inside of him was outside. So they gave us two options. They said, well, we can't handle this in Germany. on the base at the medical facilities couldn't handle this. And so they said, you can either go live in Texas or you can go live in DC, basically, Maryland, which is the president's hospital, Walter Reed now. It was called Bethesda at the time. And so my ex-husband's his family lived in Pennsylvania, so that's closer to DC.
Yeah.
So that's where we went, and Dominic was born there, had surgery immediately after birth, was in the NICU for 3 months, and blood transfusions and surgeries and all of that, and he's super healthy now. It's incredible what they were able to do, and but that was why our term at Ramstein was cut short.
Yeah.
So basically they just moved us over to DC permanently.
That's incredible. And if you hadn't had that nagging feeling, it would have been an emergency there, and God knows what would have happened.
What year was that?
He was born in 2009.
They started changing the ultrasound laws around then.
Really?
Yeah, we had our son in 2011.
Nobody can hear you.
They were thinking ultrasounds could hurt the baby.
Oh,
So they were doing 20 weeks
Yep.
was the main one, and then they weren't
they
doing
really
it
didn't want to do anymore.
unless
Yeah.
it was medically necessary.
Yeah. I do think about what would have happened if we hadn't gone and done that, because he would have been born on base at a hospital that was not prepared. He would have come out and his intestines would have been everywhere. I mean, he may not have made it. They would have had to life flight us. It would have been a whole thing. So I'm just so grateful and blessed that I listened to my gut.
Yeah.
You know, that little voice inside and followed that. Yeah. Yeah.
So our oldest is 17, and then we decided that you want to have more kids, right? It's like, the one's not so bad. Let's do another one. So we did, and for us to get pregnant the first time wasn't the easiest thing on the planet. Even though we were still young and in our early 20s at that point, we're like, we're gonna have more. And that second baby was, I think, fairly easy. I think wasn't like a big drawn out thing. Her memory and my wife's memory is much better than mine is, so I might butcher some of the story, but I'm gonna tell it anyway because it's worth telling. So we get pregnant, and at the time we have our own little baby boutique, so we have our own business.
Cool.
It was really cool. We had we were ahead of the time, so we were about 5 years ahead of the curve or so. It seems like we do that a lot, actually. So about 5 years ahead of the curve, we opened a little store in Newport Richey, and we're doing okay. It's enough to where I'm working and Miranda's staying home and trying to raise our other kid and just doing the mom thing, right? And what do you 28 weeks when we opened the store, right? Something like that. 28 weeks pregnant. 30. Yeah, we're in that last kind of phase of the moon, and she's not coming to the store every single day, trying to stay off her feet, stuff like that, because they're like, you need to relax. Yeah. So we'll backtrack real quick. Our first son, the birthing experience for her was extremely traumatic, and technically for all of us it was. We were trying to have him completely natural in a hospital, in a tub, that kind of thing, and we had a terrible experience with the OB. It was like, oh, it's Friday, I'm off for the weekend, we're gonna cut this baby out of you, basically.
Oh my gosh.
But I mean, there's a bunch of things they can do. They can move him, they can do all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, they were awesome, right? But it felt like it's Friday at 1 o'clock, it's time to go. You know what I'm saying? So
I was only 22.
huh? Yeah.
I was only 22.
You were 22 years
Yeah.
old?
Yeah.
Yeah.
C-section for your first child at 22.
It's traumatic, right? So
Yeah.
and thank God he's fine, no problems. It was funny because it's not funny. I'm sorry, babe, but it was a teaching hospital. So I'm in there. I'm complete. I mean, head to toe. You know what it's like. You're covered, right? Practically. I'm surprised I didn't have goggles on. And there's a whole gallery, and there's probably 30 students in there. And she's going, who are all these people? I'm like, it's fine. Don't worry about it. And they're giving her the drugs.
Yep.
And I can hear him going, oh, okay, we're making the first cut now, and he's talking to all the kids, and they're all
It's teaching while he's, oh my
literally
gosh.
they're all peering over. And I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, whatever. And comes out fine, everything is fine, it's awesome. Yay, we have our baby. We stay 3 days. He won't latch. There's a whole thing, So it was a little traumatic. So the second time, hey, we're gonna have this baby completely natural. We're not going to OB at all. We're gonna find a awesome midwife, which we did. Kim was awesome, and we found a nice doula. Haley was awesome. We're gonna have this baby at home. We're gonna have it at her parents' house because they have this enormous jacuzzi tub, right? So you're 22 at the time, 23,
No, I was 25.
25. Yeah. So it was a couple of years in between. So we get all the way through. The last ultrasound we have is 21 weeks, 20 weeks.
We had a 3D. I don't remember when it was, though. But 20 weeks was the only one insurance would cover.
Yeah, which is a whole different issue we have
Yeah.
in general. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So we had the 3D like you.
With 3D, they're not supposed to give you medical advice.
Right. Because it's it's just for funsies.
It's like a cosmetic procedure, kind of. Yeah.
Right. So we have it done. Store's rocking. We're having a good time. Baby's ready to be here. It's like late October. So she's thinks she's going into active labor. Everybody comes out and nothing. No dilation at all. A couple days go by and then we start the whole process again, right? And it's October 28th, 29th? 30th. No, yeah, 20.
You're pretty close. You're in the realm of dates.
There's many times as I've told this story, I should know it. So we're at her parents' house. She's in full blown labor. Kim's here. The doula is there. We're all getting settled in for the night. 'Cause she's been on. We've already walked 2 miles at this point. Like this baby ain't moving. Like she's stuck at 4 centimeters. Stuck, won't move. So we're all like, okay, it's time to rest. It's going to be a long night. This baby is coming tonight. There's no way she's in full contraction labor. So I make a joke. I'm like, I'm going to play video games. See you guys later. I go in the other room. She's outside on the hammock, relaxing. Kim, the midwife, goes to take a rest. She's like, okay, I'd already delivered a baby earlier today. I need the rest. She goes to rest. We have everything we need at the house. Everything from stethoscopes to everything except for a fetal monitor.
Oh.
They have a Doppler.
They didn't have the one that stayed on your body though.
Oh, no, it doesn't stay on you.
Yeah, but in a hospital you get one of
We
those.
don't do that for,
Right. So we don't have that. So we all go take a break late in the evening on the 30th, like 6, 7 o'clock. I didn't mean to make that joke, but it was like 6 o'clock, something like that. It was late in the afternoon. And Kim goes to take a rest. Haley's doing photo editing and stuff like that. I'm in the other room. A couple hours go by and Miranda's like, something's not right. Something's not right. Kim comes out, checks for heartbeat, no heartbeat. She's 37 weeks pregnant.
No.
39.
I was 40 weeks.
40 weeks, 2 days.
Yes.
Overdue. She's overdue. This baby's got to come out. So we're like, try not to panic. It's fine. We're going to go to the hospital, local hospital over there, and without remorse, your baby is not alive. We're going to put drugs in you right now. We're going to cut him out.
Oh my gosh.
Without remorse. It's exactly how they said it, almost to the word. They said,
There was one nurse that was trying to take fetal tone.
she was trying real
Trying
hard.
to find
She's
something.
like, oh, we found one at 98. And I said, that's mine.
Yeah.
Oh my
Those are my
gosh.
birth
Yeah.
results. And so he had passed away.
Oh my
and they
God.
wanted to do another C-section. So we signed out AMA and drove to Tampa General. And they allowed me to...
She labored for 36 hours.
They allowed
I'm
me
so
to give
sorry,
birth
guys.
To him naturally, though,
Yeah.
so that I could have other children without going through C-section.
Because technically, probably likely to have more kids after that without doing it would have been next to impossible.
Yeah.
Basically. But she sat there and she labored for 36 hours, had him on Halloween, and completely devastated.
I
completely
am so
devastated.
sorted to hear that.
Yeah,
That's,
completely devastated.
you just can't
You-
recover from that.
You do. You know what? Recovery is not the right word. You learn coping mechanisms
Yeah.
and skills, and like the one thing that I will say, because we're on a spiritual journey as a family right now. We're just coming into the light of Christ and understanding things. And like the one thing that I will tell you is that it made me a better father for sure. I was gentler with my kids and I appreciated things more. And like you gain perspective, but it takes years to get there. Years to get there. But you like traumatic birth experiences happen quite a bit.
Yeah.
And
There's not enough talk about it, though.
nobody talks about it because everything.
Sharing your story.
Yeah,
Thank you guys.
Which is what I was going to
feel
say.
like I had better words to.
No, thank you for your story
just-
because people don't share that, and that's really what we're trying to do with what I have as a show. There's no topic. It's like what's happened in your life and how does it affect other people. So like if you're out there and this kind of thing does happen to you, it happens to a lot of people. Whether it's a near scary accident like what you had, and thank God your son's okay now, or like what we had. It happens every single day across America, everywhere that you could think of. All these things are happening. So
Yep.
back to what you were saying.
No, and that's a good
now
reminder.
We're done talking with me.
No, I thank you for sharing that,
Yeah.
and I think that's just such a testament to the two of you and your strength and your commitment to each other. A lot of couples don't make it out of that
don't.
kind of devastation, and so
It took years to find each other again.
Yeah.
It really did.
yeah,
To find ourselves again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it took years.
Yeah.
And we'll be married 20 years next year.
Congratulations.
That's a long time.
That's
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah, so she puts up with me.
Yeah.
I don't know how, but we get through it. But yes, people, there's every walk, and then this is true of all your story. Going back to, even though we're just really at the beginning still, going back to when you were in that situation, you said 4 other siblings, 5?
I have 3 sisters.
Okay, yeah. So
there's
you
4 of
guys,
us.
6 of you in the house,
Yep.
and then you probably didn't realize it at the time, but now looking back on it, you go, man, we were really scraping by. We were trying
Yeah.
to make it through, but at least you were happy. You had a family, you had your sisters, you had your parents, and you saw your dad out there working, which for sure, we did an episode last week, and it was about girl dads, like this guy.
Yeah?
Oh yeah. I had Gabriel, and he's got his own little podcast, and I don't want to say little. I'm sorry, buddy. You got a podcast that's super awesome, and he's out of Texas.
Yeah.
And we were talking, and he's like, he just had his first daughter. So she's like 10 weeks old now.
Wow.
10 or 11 weeks old. And everything he's doing is for the first time. And our youngest is a girl. And I'm like, it is different. The girls and the boys, and you can attest to this too. You have boys, right?
I have 2 boys and a girl,
So
yeah.
it's, they're different.
Yeah.
It's a different experience
Yeah.
every single time.
It's so funny because my husband, now we've been married for 5 years. We're the Brady Bunch, and he
Okay.
has 3 daughters. So he's always been a girl dad. And so when I brought in, my 2 boys and a girl, he was just like, "Oh my gosh, what? I'm a girl dad. What am I supposed to do with this?" And yeah, so it's fun.
It's like that scene in Talladega Nights. What do I do with my hands?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Being a parent of any variety, whether you've adopted your kids or you have your own children or whatever it is, it's the best job on the planet. And every kid brings you different sets of challenges from birth
Yep.
all the way to being teenagers and preteens, and 12-year-old boys are difficult. Difficult. Our oldest son, like I said, 17, we got a pretty good one. He's a good kid. I praise him a lot because we know where he is 100% of the time because he calls us all the time.
Aw.
And he loves games, so he stays home and he plays games on the weekends a lot. I would much rather that than
Yep.
wonder where he is. We wonder who he's talking to sometimes, but he's going to be 17 next week. So
Yeah.
it's like, okay, you're almost there. You're almost an adult.
Yeah. That's how I am with my son, Dominic. Like, he
Yeah.
just wants to, he works, he doesn't care to spend his money,
Oh, good for him.
and he wants to play on video games. I always know he's home safe.
Yeah, there's no question about
Yeah.
what he's doing. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there's every step of the way, whether it's where you come from, because we didn't really come from a lot either. It's I have parents that fortunately my mother is 80 and still with us. My dad died a number of years ago, but I had a family. I had 2 parents at home that really cared about me and loved me, and I don't necessarily know that is the key to you growing up and doing the same for your family, because I don't necessarily think that's always true, but it helps a whole lot.
It helps a whole lot.
Helps a whole lot. It may not be, because there's mixed varieties of family out there, but having 2 parents of any variety at home is, I think we can agree, is probably something that we all should have if you can.
Yeah.
If you have 2 parents to love you, it improves your chances in life quite a bit. And going back to what you said, you had your parents your whole time. I'm sure your sisters all have their own families, and right, they all have their
Yep.
own little lives, and it's probably from the example of your parents, because you saw them struggle, and then look where you're at, running for a local office, which is amazing.
Yeah.
So you guys moved back to the States. You're in Maryland, right? So
Yep.
I'm trying to get on my timeline here. So you're 21, 22.
I was 24 when I
24.
had Dominic.
Oh, good. There you go.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
we've been to Maryland. We've driven through. So
Yeah.
we had a trip to DC a couple of years ago on the way up to PA to see her brother. And I was enamored with DC and the mall and all that stuff. But I thought everything else around it was like questionable, if I'm going to be honest.
Yeah, I think I agree.
Okay, all right. So it's very questionable.
And I don't want to talk hate on that whole
Yeah,
area,
it's
but
questionable.
I certainly don't want to live there ever again.
Okay, yeah, so-
Yeah, so we didn't live in Maryland. That's where the hospital was,
Uh-huh.
and so and it's all right there. So it's like 10 miles to Maryland, 10 miles to
It's not like
Virginia.
here.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's kind of like this whole area. We fortunately lived on base at Bolling Air Force Base, which for me was perfection, because it was like this safe little bubble utopia. That's how it felt to me, because DC is so busy. There's
Yes.
so much going on. There's so many tourists. It was, and I was a first time mom. My baby was sick.
Yeah.
I was constantly driving into DC to go to Walter Reed, for all of his checkups,
Sure.
even after he got out of the NICU. And I was just worried all the time, it was so busy, and there was so much going on. And for whatever reason at that point, I was watching a lot of it was like a kind of a docu-series, but it was about gangs in America.
Oh my God.
And I had watched these
Baltimore mob.
episodes about
Yeah.
like that area, gangs in that area. And so I was just paranoid. I was just a new mom, and it was a lot for me. And so I really loved driving through the gates of Bolling Air Force Base and
Knowing you're
walking.
safe.
Yeah, just like, so I wouldn't want to live in that area if I was not living on base.
Right. Well, that's, again, moving along our story too, that's a lot of like, it's overpopulation. It's too much of one thing, not enough another, and too much, not enough industry, not enough people, not enough this, or too much people, too much that, and all that. Which,
like, we do not want DC traffic in Pasco County, Florida.
No. I don't. If I'm being honest with you, I don't want the traffic we have now.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just absurd.
It is.
It's crazy, and we're gonna get there in a minute. So, so you're basically done after the interview. So you're there, and you finish up, and you're
I had
out.
gotten out of the military because Dominic was once we learned he was going to be born with health issues. I got out to stay home with him. So at that point, then I was a stay-at-home mom.
Okay.
And I was home with him, and then their dad was still in the Air Force.
Okay. And how was? You don't have to answer. How was that relationship with their father after you got out and you were taking care of a sick baby, and he's your ex, obviously. So how did that? What happened there? Like, what happened with you guys? Was it because again, we're trying to help people with the story.
Yeah.
Was it he continued his career, or was it?
Yeah, he stayed in the Air Force. And I am going to be careful with this out of respect for my kids. I have a great co-parenting relationship with their dad now and their stepmom, and we've had a great co-parenting relationship for a really long time. And what we learned out of that was it was a very difficult marriage.
Yes.
And it's a good thing that we ended the marriage.
We were better friends.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's been a great dad to the kids, and I'll never, say a bad thing about him in that regard. So it's better that we've been co-parents for all these years, and we do holidays together.
Yeah.
We do the kids' birthdays together. It's like, and since we split up when they were so young, it was important to us that they never felt like anybody was ever removed out of their lives, whether it's, parents or extended family or whatever that was. We were always very intentional that nobody was removed. We just had more people now to love the kids.
You're not taking away.
Yeah. And so we have done their birthdays together, since they've lived in Florida, since they moved down here. So
my best friend on the entire planet has been divorced 16 years, something like that now. It's got to be. I don't know, Mark. I'm sorry, buddy. But, he talked about it at length our very first episode, and he echoed a lot of what you're saying. Is that he wanted to maintain that relationship with his ex-wife, which he has, and they have this wonderful 2 girls. They are just like the best, right? And it's because he had such a great relationship. Because too often we see these 2 people that don't get along anymore, whether it's because you're not in the military or whatever your background is. The emphasis of that story is that. They stayed friends for not only for the health of the kids, but ultimately for the health of themselves, because it all eats at you no matter what. So it's great that you have that relationship.
Yeah.
I was hoping that you did when I asked that question, so that I could tell that story. I assumed
Pandora's
you did.
box? No.
Nah, I assumed you did.
Yeah,
I was going off instinct there.
Yeah.
So it's wonderful.
But I think I do try to tell people, because it's just so prevalent, people getting together and splitting up and kids involved, it's
51%.
just like, almost everybody has experience with it. And if I can impart anything that I've learned in my situation, is that it is a choice. It is a choice to be good co-parents together. And everybody has to make that choice, right? Like the mom has to make the choice, the dad has to make the choice, the new stepmom, the new stepdad. Everybody's got to be conscious and be making the decision to do what's best for the kids.
Yeah.
And we've been able to do that, fortunately. Of course, there have been hiccups in the road. We don't always agree with it. You don't agree with your spouse when you're married with everything about how to raise your kids.
That's
so
right.
now when you've got other people in this and in separate households, of course, there's going to be times that you don't see eye to eye. But if I could give any advice to people going through that, it's just like, no matter what the other person is doing, or if they've hurt your feelings, make the choice to do what's best for the kids. Your feelings really don't have much to do with it. They shouldn't.
Amen.
It's about how can we best support these kids and get them to adulthood. And my kids they're great kids. They're well-adjusted. They love their dad and their stepmom. They love me and their stepdad. And they've got, now it's like the whole Brady bunch. And so it's just
crazy
like
at the holidays.
It is, yeah.
I'm trying to think in my mind, like, how many people are probably in your house at one given time.
Yeah, and then their dad
Christmas.
and stepmom have another child, a son, and so everybody comes over, and it's fun. They come swimming.
we are the only people left out of all our friends. We relatively got married around the same time ish, right? And we're the only ones still standing at this point, as of today, anyway.
Yeah.
that are still going
That's
at it.
awesome.
And we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, you
We'll
guys
see.
are doing great.
You never know. Yeah. So, but as you've seen it, we've seen everything. I feel like we've seen everything under the sun at some point with our friends that were either in serious relationships, broke up, or left a situation they shouldn't be in with a child and things like that. It is so important to echo what you said, based off of what I've seen on the outside, standing on the outside firmly, going, man, I'm glad that this turned out this way, because there's so much joy to be had sometimes in something that should be so terrible, right?
Yeah.
So again, thank you for sharing that little bit peek behind the curtain
Yeah.
of who you are, because that's awesome.
Yeah.
So when you decided you were gonna, you didn't decide, you had to be a mom. You had to go and do what you should be doing, which is take care of your kid who needs probably more attention than a regular, child trying to recover from surgery, trying to do life basically. So you leave at some point. You leave the Air Force and you move to.
Yeah, we're in DC at that time.
Okay.
So we were living on Bolling Air Force Base in DC, and my ex-husband was working in the Air Force at the Pentagon. So we were
Fancy.
there for, how long were we there? A couple years. Yeah. And then he got a position at Pennsylvania Air National Guard, like a full-time position. And so his family lived in Pennsylvania, and so
Perfect
we
for him.
moved there. We bought a home, and that's kind of where we set up shop. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I've been all over.
Yeah. What part of PA is that?
Pittsburgh area. We lived in Beaver Falls, which
What a
probably
name.
nobody knows.
What a name.
It's
Yeah.
like just a stone's throw away from Ohio.
Okay. Oh, it's like
Yeah.
right there on the border.
Yep.
I gotta tell you something. But the only thing I know about that area of the country, because we've driven through it the one time going back down, I don't want to ever do it again.
Did you get car sick?
No, I hated it. So we've driven to PA twice, 2 times. Anyway, from here.
That's a hike.
From here.
Yep. Same.
Because it's
Same.
It's a 2 damn day.
Yeah.
You stop somewhere in the Carolinas and you go, man, I'm really tired. I'm going to sleep for a couple hours, and then you get back in the car because her brother lives in Erie.
Oh, that's where their dad's family's from. Erie.
Okay.
I've been to Erie many times.
Yeah. But it's Canada basically.
Yeah. Oh,
it's
yeah.
right there.
It
like
is.
you can almost.
We
see
went
it.
to Canada from Erie. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a hike, and we love going up there and seeing them. Really, we do. We went 2 springs ago. It was so cold still.
Oh, yeah.
It was freezing, and I was not happy. But anyway, because I'm a Florida native. But that drive coming back down, we're gonna go the scenic route this time, and we came down through like Cleveland and down through Ohio and down. I did not. I took one look at her and I said, I'm never doing this ever again. It was the most boring. There was nothing to see. I get people. I guess maybe I would love that if I think I would love that to live there, like to live in an area like that. But if I'm driving somewhere, I got to see something. There's not even a freaking billboard.
That's like driving through Illinois. It's flat.
Yeah.
Flat soybeans and cornfields.
I think you would get like hypnotized.
No hills. No. Yeah. You kind of get sleepy. It's just like the same scene. Yeah. So I've made that drive to Pennsylvania a few times, and I don't want to do it again.
Yeah. No. I think we'll. I've been invited to a conference in Ohio in March. And I don't think I want to go because it's going to be cold.
Yeah. So
that's kind of where I'm at with it. I told him the other day, he's going to be on the show later on this week. And I'm like, dude, it's the cold. I'm like, it's like, I don't think you understand, like, even there in March, it's going to be, and if it's in March, I'm pretty sure it is, it's going to be like 40 something. That's too cold for me.
And it's not going to be fun cold. Fun cold is like leading up to Christmas, where you're like, oh, there's a chill in the air. I feel so festive. No, it's going to be like slush.
Are there chills in the air in Christmas? I don't think I might have experienced that once in my life. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, it's not fun cold in March anywhere up north. It's like dirty, slushy snow on the side of the road and cold wind and rain.
Yeah.
That's why I'm here.
Yeah, no, I would never. That's like I told him. I'm like, I don't know, man. We'll see. He's like, you got to come. You get to 15 minutes. And I'm like, I'm not coming there for 15 minutes to talk. I don't know, man. Anyway, we'll see. Jason, we'll see.
Well,
I don't know.
A couple days, and then come back to the warmth.
I don't know. We'll see. It's also really close to our anniversary, so it is in March. There we go. See, now that's it all coming back to me like a Meatloaf song. So you guys are up there and you spontaneously decide to move how did you get here? Like, what's the story of now I'm coming to Wesley Chapel, Florida, and this is where I want to live?
Oh, that's actually a fun story.
Okay. Wait. Let's pause real quick.
Yes.
Before you go there.
It's like,
Yeah. So you're in PA, Pittsburgh-ish area.
Yeah.
You have how many children at this point?
3.
3. Okay. And
Yep.
they're all how old?
When I moved to Florida, they were 4, 3, and 3 months old.
Okay.
So maybe I didn't have 3 the whole time I was in Pennsylvania.
still.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you know what? Fun fact about when I lived in that area, I was an extra in the Batman movie, The Dark Knight Rises.
Look at you. So you did get there's your degree paying off right there.
That's always my fun fact when
Really?
like, you have to have an
Which
icebreaker.
Scene? I'm going to look for it.
I'm a police officer. And so
I didn't know we had an actor here on the show.
yeah,
Okay.
Christopher Nolan directed it. I was very
yeah.
close. I kept staring at him like a creep because I was like, oh my gosh.
Oh my God. It's
Yeah, he
one
caught
of the
me
best
and he was just
directors of
kinda
all
like,
time. Don't look
staring
at me,
at me, peasant. Yeah, for sure. But my ex and I, there was an open call, like the base there got notification that Batman was going to be filming and they were doing open casting calls. And we thought,
Extras.
that's
Yeah,
kind of
why not?
fun.
Yeah.
Why don't we just do that? And so we get there. I'm going way
Did you
off
bring your
track here.
broadcast? It's okay. This is my favorite part of my show. So did you bring your little broadcast, diploma with you? Be like, I was in broadcast journalism.
should
I
have,
could be
though.
on your show. Go
No.
ahead. No, go ahead.
We went to this open casting call. We're thinking, oh, we're just going to show up, pop in, pop out, make a day of it, because it was in like downtown Pittsburgh where they were doing this. We showed up, and this line was, I don't want to say it was a mile long, but it was blocks and blocks and blocks. Like this was the longest line I had ever seen. And so we get in line, and we're standing there, and we're thinking, this is not worth my whole day standing in this line. So I'm not proud of this. But we and the couple in front of us.
I bet you are just a little bit. Whatever it is, otherwise you wouldn't tell the story. It's got to be a little bit of pride in there.
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay, yeah.
We and the couple in front of us were like, let's see if we can figure this out. And so we started walking. We left the line, and then we went into this. The line seemed to be going into a building right next to a Starbucks. And so we were like, let's figure this out. And so we went into the Starbucks to get a coffee, but there was an open door in the Starbucks directly into wherever this theater where they were. And so we thought, no, it can't be this easy. So we just kind of stepped through the door, and we were in the very front of the line. We stepped in. There was like 3 other people. They handed us the clipboards of the paper you need to fill out. And we thought, okay, all right, we fill it out. They take your picture real quick, and then you leave. We were in and out of that whole situation in like less than a half an hour. And we thought, okay, well, that was fun. And then they ended up calling. So I was a police officer. I went to the fittings and had my whole little police officer outfit on. And it was the scene where they're like running in and out of the tunnel. There's like an explosion in some sort of a tunnel or cave. Yeah. Railroad track. I can't remember, but we were in a tunnel because we spent a lot of time in there. And so we just ran in and out and walked in and out of the tunnel. So yeah.
Okay. I have lots of questions. Okay. So
yes,
I'm a movie person. Yeah.
Okay. I probably won't know the answers to your
questions. No. I miss Blockbuster. Okay. I love movies. I love that movie in particular. I think that what he did with those 3 Batman films was amazing. And it stands even like, it's been 20 years now at this point. It still is, they're great films. First, I'm going to go, when I leave here while I'm editing, I'm going to put it up and see if I can find you and freeze frame it. And I'm going to use that for our little,
if you can,
our little like thumbnail for the episode. So that'll be really fun. And second, like, I'm going to tell you a story, and then I'm going to ask you a question. Okay. So, in the late 2010s, 2008, they filmed a movie called The Punisher here.
Punisher. Okay.
So it was it was The Punisher. It was actually before Marvel was making like films. They were still making the Blade films at the time. So it wasn't like there was no Tony Stark. There was none of that. So it was like probably 2 or 3 years before they made serious films. Thomas Paine played the Punisher, and they filmed the entire movie in Tampa. The entire movie from start to finish. They filmed the first half of the movie, or the first epilogue of the movie is filmed at Fort DeSoto Park.
Oh, cool.
The reason that it wasn't Fort DeSoto, I'm sorry, it was Honeymoon Island. Okay. The reason Honeymoon Island got all the new bathrooms and stuff was because of the production of that film. The bathrooms, before they put the toilets in them, doubled as the lodges that they were staying in for the film. So it's I don't know, it's cool. I think that's cool.
I
right?
didn't know that.
And then there's parts in Tampa where you watch like, oh my God, I've been there. They used the beer can as the main club for the movie. Anyway, we went to, it was open casting call. We went and we brought photos, right? And they wanted to know what kind of car we drove. Okay. And all kinds of other stuff. Do you remember this? You don't remember this at all? Wow. Because we put your Celica. She had a what year was that? 97 Toyota Celica limited edition convertible.
Okay, fancy.
It was her 16th birthday present.
That's so cool.
So her parents, shout out to her parents for getting her an awesome car.
That's very cool.
And I had a red one, but it wasn't convertible. So I'm like, we have the same cars. Like I put it on the thing. I'm like underlining it, like two of the same kind of cars, And they take our photos. At least take my photo. I don't know if you were like participating. We were there though. I remember you being with me. So, and it's like a line, and you just go by our last name, right? Mm-hmm. So it's kind of the same thing you were doing, but probably couple of years before they did Batman. But I thought it was the craziest thing because you kind of got a little bit of a peek behind, because at the time you knew who was going to, Thomas Jane and John Travolta were in the film. Mm-hmm. So it was like they had their photos up. They had mock-ups of what the movie was going to look like. So cool. And they were picking people based off of that, I would assume. Never got a call back, never got anything. I guess I didn't get my 30 seconds of fame, but I thought that was the coolest thing. So for you to have actually made it through that process, I think that's kind of neat. Like you said, you're waiting, but then you cheat and cross the line.
Yeah, a little bit.
And then you get in there, you get to do like your own little minute. You get your custom made outfit.
Yeah.
So I guess I was gonna say you take selfies, but phones weren't a thing per se then.
I don't know.
We didn't have cell phones.
I don't
like we
remember.
do now.
I don't think I had a
It's
selfie.
like iPhone 3 or something.
Yeah.
At that time. Yeah.
I wish I had.
Yeah.
That would have been cool.
That's so cool though. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
neat. So you got a little peek behind the silver curtain, basically. Mm-hmm. So how many hours were you there?
2 full days.
Oh my God!
Yeah. And that's when I discovered I am not cut out to be an extra.
Yeah. No, you want to be. She's not gonna be an extra. She wants to be the star.
If I'm not the star, I'm not going.
Yeah, so,
no, because they were not nice to extras. Like they treat them exactly how you think that they're going to treat them. They gave us food, but they're just like, it was almost like military. It was just like, get over here, sit down, be quiet. It was just like,
because they're under a time crunch.
Yeah. I just was like,
you're
no,
working with some
you.
AD who's never directed anything in their life, probably some 20-something-year-old kid.
Yeah.
Get over her. Big bull microphone.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
It was an interesting experience.
How cool is that? So that's like your little pin in that city anyway, right?
Exactly.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So, and back to reality, right? You decide that time to get the heck out of here, right?
Yeah. So my ex and I were splitting up, and so then it was just deciding what's next. And I'm not from Pennsylvania. My family is in Michigan and Illinois, so I wasn't real keen on staying in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
And
Nobody
then,
wants to stay in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Unless you're Amish.
I don't want to say that. Yeah.
I'm going to say it. Nobody. I don't want to. I love to visit sometimes, but I would never live there.
Yeah. I think I just
Especially
really needed a fresh start, and having lived so many places and they were all cold places, I was like, I don't want to do that anymore. And so my ex and I just, we agreed at the time, all right, Florida's good. I was going to move first with the kids and get set up while he was finishing out his enlistment with the Air Force. And was kind of like going to get set up and get a job and get all that while he was still making money with the Air Force. So, like we worked together to make this decision.
From the very beginning.
Yeah. We were both on board with it. And so that's what I did. I moved down to Florida and I was like, oh, Wesley Chapel. So, okay. So Mike, yeah, sorry.
Squirrel.
Yeah. So I wanted to move somewhere warm. That was like my qualifier, somewhere where it just doesn't ever snow. And so Florida was a very reasonable solution for that. But I have a cousin named Jessica. We're 3 months apart in age. Our moms are sisters. So we grew up almost like sisters when we lived in Michigan. We were always together. We were best friends forever. We were like in the playpen playing together. So we really...
You got the Polaroid to prove it,
we really do. Yeah,
100%.
So we really grew up like sisters. And then once my family moved to Illinois, it was always like a long distance thing. And she would come visit and I would go visit and we would call and email and we were just stayed close. Well, when I was splitting up with my ex-husband and moving to Florida, I called up Jessica and I said, hey, and she's living in Michigan. She had never left Michigan. I said, do you want to move to Florida? And she was married.
Yeah.
And she's like, well, let me talk to my husband. And they decided to. They decided to up and move to Florida to go on this adventure. I mean, they had their reasons too, but ultimately it was that I asked and that I needed help with the kids and it was going to be this great adventure that we were all going to go on. And she has a cousin on her dad's side who I didn't know or grow up with who lives in Lutz. And her cousin was like, Wesley Chapel's an up and coming area. It's got da-da-da-da-da. So that's how we ended up in Wesley Chapel.
And that's like what, 2000 and...
2000 and... When was Roman born? 2013.
12, 13.
2013.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. That's when, they were building out in Wesley Chapel, but it was nothing like it is now. There was just Wiregrass and Publix, there was no outlets, no car dealerships, none of all that. So I thought it was I really liked that it was like, oh, you have your cow pastures and then you have your mall. Like, that's the best of both worlds. And now you have your mall and your mall. So, there's that.
Yeah. It's crazy because we have lived here forever. So we're West Pascoers, so we're over closer to like the coast. So we live like 3 miles off the coast right now.
Oh, nice.
It's not really.
Okay.
It's listen.
I always want to be closer to the water.
It's not the worst. It's not the best.
Yeah.
But it's definitely not here, right? So for my normal job that is not this and producing other people's stuff, I have a real job and I drive around all the time. And
Yeah, what do you do?
oh, I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
We don't have to talk about
I'm in sales.
it. Okay.
I drive.
He's like, I'm in sales.
I drive.
It's very mysterious.
I drive places and talk to people at their houses.
Okay, fair enough.
So it's a lot of driving, a lot of neighborhoods, a lot of talking, a lot of this. It's not mysterious. I just don't, if you know me, you know what I do, and this will make sense. But I talk to a lot of different people that are. When you come over here, nobody is really from here. There's a lot of transplants like you.
You're right.
So I will ask you what I ask a lot of them, and it doesn't always fly. Okay, why, like, what was it about Wesley Chapel that you said, man, I know you just said about the cows and all that stuff, but didn't you see it coming? Like when you came here, didn't you see, because you couldn't even get here. So let me backtrack. When we bought our first house, what you think of there was nothing here. There was 2006, there was nothing. 54 ended and you had to turn, and there was no 56. There was none of where we're at right now.
Yep.
It wasn't even cows. I don't know what it was.
Probably wetlands. I don't know either.
Yeah, cypress trees or something like that, right? So there's a funny story there. We actually got lost going to Universal once because it was like 2006, 2007, and I really hadn't been this way in many years because there was no reason to come out here. Yeah. So you get lost. So we come out. Remember when MapQuest? Remember that?
Yes.
Okay, so we're going to Universal, and it was summertime,
With
right?
your printed directions?
Printed directions from MapQuest. She's riding shotgun. We're in the convertible, right? I'm pretty sure we're in the convertible at this point. And we're going to Universal. Was it also when we went to see Newfound Glory? Was that the same time? Was it like the same day? It might have been, right? So we're going to Universal for today because Universal Islands of Adventure had just really been open a few years, and it's finally where you get into it. So I'm like, let's go. They have Spider-Man there. Let's go, right? So we're Spider-Man geared out. We drive out there, and I get here, which doesn't even look the way it does now, and I'm like, the map doesn't.
There's nothing
Can
else.
I see that map? And we're like looking at the map, and we're going, where to go? And so I wound up taking the wrong turn. I don't even know where I was.
Yeah.
I just stopped and get a road map to figure out how to get to Orlando. It took us 4.5 or 5 hours. We found a Walmart. Right. Yeah, it was a regular Walton's, like a Walmart. Like, remember when they were just, red, white, and blue, and it was one little, So we got a map, and we figure out where we're at. We asked the guy behind the counter. He's like, oh, yeah, you're not even in the right direction. So long story short, we wound up doing it. And I thought, at the time, I said, what are they doing out there? Why would they be even changing the roads? I don't understand. We're 18, 19, maybe 20, maybe 20 years old. And I'm thinking, what in the holy heck? It was 2 lanes.
Yeah.
And then it turned into 4, and then it turned into this turn. And now I sound old, but it was like, I was completely baffled at the time. And I was really mad because I was lost. And on top of that, and I thought, and I've thought this many, many times since then about places. Why do people come here? Why do they? I know the sun, and I know the fun, and I know all this, and I get it, and I understand. I think we're jaded because I'm a Pasconian, first of all, and second of all, it's Florida, and it's like, oh, it's great. Sometimes I wish I could go see a mountain. You know what I'm saying? Which is, I think, how people feel like sometimes I wish I could just go to the beach for the day. I hate the beach. I love springs. I hate the beach. Okay, I don't like the sand. I don't like any of that. I don't like being wet and crusty. I don't like it. Bring me to one of these beautiful Florida springs that we have, and I will stay there all day. Especially Wiki Wachi. Shout out to Wiki Wachi and their private cabanas. That is, if you haven't done it, that's the best experience at Wiki Wachi.
I have not done a private.
Do the private cabana. It's like Buccaneer Bay. Yeah, it's like $200, something like that. It's a private cabana. You get unlimited waters and lemonades, and they give you more towels than you know what to do with.
Okay,
it's amazing.
I like a good towel.
Yeah, they are nice towels too. I'm not gonna lie, they're pretty nice. She's like, I don't care.
Yeah,
it's good for the pool,
Heck yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, I always thought like. And I have never gotten, I don't want to say the right answer, but everybody's like, well, especially in the last 5 years. Well, we sold our house in New York, and it's so much cheaper to live here. And I sold my 2-bedroom house for $1.5 million, and now I bought a house out here in Wesley Chapel. And I have two parts to that question always: is like, why Wesley Chapel, Orlando Lakes, Lutz, and then why, if you wanted to live here so bad, why not buy in the areas where houses are not selling? Like, there are tons of houses in areas that of the talk about neighborhoods that could be used up and coming. Why not buy there? Why not buy in places where you have a mall? Port Richey, New Port Richey, great example of this. That entire area is decimated because everybody comes out here to move. Nobody. Everything's a rental. The mall is basically, I don't know if you've seen the pictures of it, but there's nothing in it.
Yeah.
It used to be the hub of the town.
That's sad.
And it's completely decimated. It is much like Flint does.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying it's by any means the same, but you get increased homelessness on that side of the county. And we live in a nicer part of the neighborhood. I'm not saying we live in high rise, low income apartments, but parts of some of our Publix is not always the nicest people in there. I don't understand why people just don't choose to go to the areas that already had the infrastructure. Why move to places where they had to build everything? I don't get it. And this might not be the right, I'm not looking for you to answer this question, but it just kind of frustrates me on a bunch of levels. And now where we're at, they've recently cleared out an entire forest basically to make way for new houses when they can't even sell the houses that are in the existing neighborhoods. It drives me crazy. It drives me absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
So for you, your personal story of why you came here was for the sun and the fun and all that stuff. And in 2012, you had a little bit of infrastructure. You did have a Wiregrass Mall, which you've been there for the Christmas thing, right?
I go there all the time. I love Wiregrass.
For the first 10 years, it was cool, and then it's the same. Come on, guys.
Yeah.
Can I get some new music, please?
Yeah.
We've been listening to Trans-Siberian Orchestra for 15 years now.
That's one of our traditions with the kids too. And
if you got some pull in there, just go make a phone call or something.
I'll do what I can.
Okay, whenever you can.
Yeah.
Just make a little phone call and be like, hey, can we get something different?
Just a new tune.
Just one more song.
Switch
Just
it up
one
a
new
little
song.
bit. Yeah.
And can we improve the smell of the fake snow? It stinks. Okay? Maybe clean out the hoses.
I'll take some notes.
Maybe clean out the hoses. Okay.
Snow bubbles.
Anyway, I went on a rabbit hole there. So, yeah, what was it? Like, what was the main attractor?
It really was just my cousin's cousin. It was a recommendation because I didn't know. I had never even been to Florida. I hadn't visited. I had never stepped foot in Florida. Okay. I was just.
What an experience.
That's just. I don't know if I was,
Yeah.
I had never been here. And so I was going off of her recommendation. Of course, we looked it up. We looked up crime rates and this and school districts. Yeah. That was a big
Let's talk about
driver.
No information, though. I mean,
yeah. I just said, let me show up. But then when you ask, did I see it coming? I would say no. And I was thinking about it kind of while you were talking about
rambling.
I'm
sorry.
Area. No, not rambling, but it was a good question.
I get frustrated.
No, understandable frustrations for sure, especially on the west side of the county. Yeah. But I didn't because I hadn't been in one place long enough to see those kinds of changes take place. From the time I was 18 years old, I was every couple of years. So wherever I land, it's like, this is just what it is because this is how I'm experiencing it. So I don't know what it was before now. This is just, I'm accepting this experience of it now. And so it was kind of the same thing when I moved here. It's like, oh yeah, they're building stuff. But, I didn't have historical context. I wasn't from here. And so I think that over the course of the last several years, now that I am here, I'm not from here now, but I've settled here. I've bought a home here. I don't plan to leave here. I love it here. And this is like my home base now. Now I have more of a keen eye and I'm thinking, okay, well, that's cool. Are we ready for that? Do we need more houses that are built? If we have houses that are sitting on the market, all of those questions. And so I started paying more attention to it, I would say, in the last 5 to 6 years probably, where I was really noticing more the impact of all of the development and how it impacts certain areas. And some of that's good. I'm not anti all development by any stretch of the imagination, especially when people are moving here. And so then your next point about why are so many people coming to this specific area? I think there's a lot of reasons for that. One is affordability for people that were moving from different parts of the country. They just saw this as a really affordable area, but highway access to Tampa, so maybe they're moving here and they're not retired. So they're working primarily in Tampa. We have a lot of people that are commuting. A lot of people don't work in Wesley Chapel. We have a lot of commuters going to Tampa.
Honestly, a problem.
Yeah. So it's proximity to the highways in Wesley Chapel. They have even more now, overpasses and entrances and access to the highways. But that I think that was a main driver of the growth in this area, because just accessibility. Because then you look at Zephyr Hills, who doesn't have as good as highway access, and you just can't get there as quickly and as easily, and it hasn't grown in the same way that Wesley Chapel. Now it kind of
Well, they just
is
put
as a
Overpass Road.
byproduct. Exactly. Now Overpass is like there. And so now as a byproduct of all of the growth that's sprawling outward,
Yeah.
Zephyr Hills is also growing, Dade City is growing, San Antonio, all those areas are kind of blowing up now, but they hadn't before. And I think it's really a combination of things. And I also think whoever was running this area, whether it was like Pasco EDC, shout out to Bill Cronin. I worked with him a lot on anti-human trafficking, and he's been running Pasco Economic Development Council for a long time.
We're going to get into that in a second.
Okay, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But I think that whoever was doing the marketing for this area did a really great job. And they've been on the list of like top 10 places to move in the U.S. for a really long time, like this area. So whoever was in charge of, maybe it was, I don't know, I don't want to guess who it was, but whoever was doing that,
that's the fun part.
they, nope. They did a great job of getting the word out that this is a desirable place to live.
Like, you mean through social media and print media?
Yeah, I think so. But then also,
or like the Epperson
just
Lake
like
thing?
the lists. Yeah. So Epperson was a big one.
Now there's two of them
Yep. Murata.
right next to each other.
Yeah. Yeah. I actually.
You can go to a Real Spring, by the way, for way less money and support the state.
Yeah, exactly.
Just do it.
Yeah. So, but big projects like that. I remember when the ice rink came. We're really close to the ice rink right now.
It's here somewhere. I don't know where it is, but it's right
yeah,
around
it's really
here.
close to where we are. It was a major story because it was like the largest ice rink in the southeast of the United States, something like that. And so things like that, those anchor places, Epperson, Murata, the ice rink, they promote that globally. I mean, they take that, especially like economic development, like they'll take things like that and go to China and go overseas and go through the country and basically try to secure people to move here and for businesses to come and launch here.
So, and I want to talk about that because I'm actually going to tell you a story now.
Awesome.
So, back in the late 70s, well, it was probably mid 70s, they had a campaign for General Motors employees that were in New York City, New Jersey, PA, basically all the Northeast. And they would go and they say, hey, you work for General Motors or you work for Ford or whatever it was. You ever thought about retiring early? Seriously. And if you're at that time in your late 30s, early 40s, hey, buy your retirement home now, retire in 10 years.
Oh. That's how this
cash
became a
price.
retirement community.
100%. I know that because my father was one of those guys. So he was from New York guy, was married to his first wife. Sorry, I don't really know. But they were married and they moved down here. He was 38 at the time.
Oh, wow.
He'd been early. Yeah, younger than I am now. They left their whole life in New York and moved down here. And well, not with the intention to retire, but he came here to continue to work for a dealership in Brooksville, which he did for many years. And a couple different ones too, but came down here and built a house from the foundation up and spec'd it all out exactly how you wanted. And we were going through some, because we still live in that house because we own it. So it's all fantastic.
That's awesome.
We were going through some paperwork the other day. We saw everything they'd ever changed on it and how much they paid for the house. I'm like, and I knew roughly what he was making then. I'm like, what a great deal you got on a house in Florida in 1976. I think he paid with a lot like $41,000 for it, which is insane, even with all the extra specs. But that's how that started, that side of Pasco. You had people that were, I think they called them sundowners. They would come down, not snowbirds. They were different. It was like they would come down, not necessarily when it was cold up north, just when it was more convenient to be here. So like, it was, you had a little bit longer days. It was kind of like one of those things. Okay. So they would come here and they live on these little canals and stuff like that, really right on the coast. So you see all those old single wide mobile homes that are all gone now because they built enormous houses. But it started like that in the early 70s, which turned into people coming in and living in the houses. And Pasco County Historical Society, you can correct me if you want, but I'm pretty close to what the story is here, okay? And they built these, and then growing up, they built the malls and all this stuff. And that side of Pasco up until the early 2000s was where multiple schools. We had the infrastructure. They did it the right way. I felt like even then, yes, there were people. Yes, it was crowded. But my graduating class was still only like 100 some odd people. She graduated from Mitchell, the first high school graduation class from them. And how many were in your graduating class? Like 400. Wow. So and that's just a 10-minute difference from where we lived made it so much impact because this area, not this area, but the area where she grew up, they had the kind of the same thing. It was the people that lived in those first generation kind of houses, and then Trinity, as they call it now, exploded in the late 90s, exploded with development. And that was, frankly, a catastrophe.
Really?
No schools, no roads. They had a Walmart, right? We didn't go. So it was so much of the fact, like, why would we go there? Because when I was in high school, it was like, we never went that way. I didn't even go to Trinity until I met her in senior year. I was never out there because there was nothing to go to. There was no mall. There was no hub. There was nothing. We had, shout out Gulfview Square Mall when it was in its prime. We had a mall that was redone. You had every store on the planet. You could go. Remember Montgomery Ward? I mean, that place I worked in the mall, right?
Yeah.
And it was the hub. And then again, I'm not anti-development either. I'm pro do things responsibly, right? Because I understand you have to develop and you have to have the tax base in order to do things we all want, like have better, county. The sheriff's department needs more people. The fire department sure as heck needs new people. I got a buddy who's a captain. He's like, we don't have enough young people trying to help us. Even volunteers anymore. It's like pulling teeth. And these are issues that we have to handle. You have to have more people in order to get that, but you got to do it responsibly. And I always felt like our side of the county, when they did a really good job up until, we're not going to name names, but got involved in development out there. And they have made a lot of money off of property that their families owned, building new houses and new developments and renaming them and ranching and all of this stuff in the last 25 years has decimated that area for quality of life. In my opinion, I don't like going out there. If I'm going to go and do something, it's going to be in Brooksville. I'd rather drive up there to do it. I don't know. Anyway, that's my soapbox moment.
That, or a version of that, I hear everywhere I go.
I'm sure you do, yeah.
So many people feel that way, and it is about quality of life, but it's also about safety in our schools. And when they're overcrowded, it's just more difficult for the teachers to manage the classrooms and to make sure
40
that
kids in a classroom is insane.
It's insane, and our traffic and safety on the roads. My kid, he's 16 now, Dominic, and he's driving, and it's terrifying. It's terrifying for any parent, no matter where you live. But around here, it's like every single day you're hearing about accident here, backup here, fatality here. And that's part of it. And people's homes that are flooding when they didn't used to flood before, because now there's a development.
We're going to talk about that.
Not too far from them, and that's created all of these issues. And so it is quality of life, but it's also safety, and can we get to work, and can we do the things that we want to and need to do in a way that works for our life. And a lot of people feel like that's not so much the case anymore.
No, absolutely, because even like, I'm not saying it's a public transportation issue, because I don't think it is. I don't think we're built for public transportation in our county at all. I think that the concept of a public bus system is laughable at best, because it doesn't go any place anybody wants to be, in my opinion.
I think we could have been built if somebody had.
Oh, what just happened? Something died. That never. Let's go. We take a quick break. Running a business is hard enough without IT headaches slowing you down. That's where Computer Quest comes in. They make technology simple. Whether you need cybersecurity, cloud solutions, digital marketing, or on-site support, their teams got you covered. One thing I love about working with Computer Quest is their clear and transparent pricing. No hidden fees, no surprises, just straightforward IT solutions that fit your budget. Plus, they can source hardware from all the brands you know and trust at a competitive price, so you're always getting the best deal. Take the stress out of IT. Visit cqbits.com. That's cqbits.com, and see how Computer Quest can keep your business running smoothly. I think that if we could responsibly grow, that would be wonderful. And I'm interested to know what your thoughts are on that, because I will tell you, between what I've seen between the Starkeys and the county, what they did to some of the long-term families on the west side of Pasco, and how they use eminent domain on some of these people that have owned these pieces of property for many years, and one of them is being built right now on Plath Road. I just don't know how they think they're going to house these people and have the roads be functional and have emergency services, and there's not even a school being built over there. Where are they going to put?
Where is this?
There's a new community going up on Plath Road and Little Road.
What's
And
the community called? Do you know? Is it Two Rivers? I'm not super familiar
Might
with
be. I don't
where
know.
that area is. I know there's a big community. I think it's called Two Rivers that's slated
That might be it.
out that way.
It's enormous. I think they're building 3,500 homes,
I think that might be it then.
and there's no school.
Yeah.
And the promise to the county at the time was, oh, we're going to develop and we're going to put a mixed use sports facility, which we desperately need on that side of the. I mean, I don't want to feel like I'm lobbying for just our side of the county, but it's been completely ignored for 20 years, and to not have a place where kids can go and play sports successfully, because we're a sports family. We have football players, cheer, and gymnastics, and all kinds of stuff. You know, we're going to come in, and I think originally it's going to put new school, new K through 8, and then we're going to put a mixed use sports facility, and we're going to do all these things, and none of it happens. How do we get to where we can hold people accountable for that as citizens? I know we have to vote the right way and vote for the right people, but it just feels a lot like, to me, that, like you say a lot, is like, are the developers really just in control of what's happening? And how do we stop that? How is one person going to come in and change that? I'd
Yeah.
love to know that.
Well, that's a great question.
I think so.
Yeah.
That was my home run question in my
Yeah,
brain. So.
no, that is a great question. So obviously there's a lot of nuance into how different areas get developed, but and we could go down any number of pathways about population increase and this and that and all of that. But I think at the end of the day, the facts are that the Board of County Commissioners makes a lot of the decisions on what we're approving for developments and what we're not approving. And then the Planning Commission, who those members are appointed by their BOCC representative, they're making decisions on zoning changes. And so if there's agricultural land that somebody wants to turn into multifamily development, then the Planning Commission hears that and makes a recommendation to the BOCC. So really, it lies in those two different commissions, which is ultimately run by the Board of County Commissioners. Okay. All 5 of our county commissioners are primarily funded, their campaigns, by big developers. If you pull their donation lists and you look at who contributed to their campaign, it is by and large big developers. And so I think that's problem number 1. Because when you are taking funds at that amount from them, then you are in a lot of ways beholden to them.
Sure.
And you make decisions based on that relationship with them. And I'm not going to call out any one certain person or anything like that, but just, we see this not just in local politics, but
it's national.
National, global. When there's special interests involved, then the decision making changes from what is best for the people of this area. It changes from that to
how much money?
How can I appease these people who are going to help keep me in the office? And it just gets messy. And so for me, I'm running a grassroots campaign. I'm not taking any money from special interests, big developers, corporations, things like that, just because I don't think that that's the point of being a public servant. I don't think that that's having a high level of integrity when you're supposed to be serving the people, but you've got special interests in your ear that are profiting off of the decisions that you make or don't make. So I think the broad answer is support candidates that run grassroots campaign that aren't bought by special interests, because I think that there's a higher likelihood that they're going to make decisions for the people than somebody who's been heavily supported by a corporation or a special interest. What was the next part? How is one person? So how is one person? Let's say I get elected in 2026 and the 4 other commissioners are still funded by big developers. We're not going to see a 360, we're not going to see a 180 overnight. We're not going to see things just make this massive shift where nobody's developing anything anymore. What a miracle. That's not how it's going to work. And so I don't want anybody to be under that illusion, but what you'll have is a voice up there calling things out and making them have conversations, because right now all 5 of them are typically on the same page when it comes to new developments. Like, they typically don't veer very far from what one
It's
another.
one of those things that's getting done on the golf course.
Yeah, exactly.
There,
and so there's not even a whole lot of conversation about it oftentimes at the meetings. It's just like approve. And so you'll have somebody on there like me who will say, hold on a second. Well, let's talk about this. Let's be a little more transparent about this. Let's talk about the details. Let's push back on XYZ development, because, it can be something as simple as, all right, all of these homes are proposed and the zoning is already that, and the developer already has the rights to the land. So, what can we really do? Well, we can make sure that the roads are ready for it. We can make sure that the entrances and exits make sense, because I've sat in a number of meetings, county commission meetings or planning meetings, where residents come and they're like, okay, all these houses are going to be built here. First of all, they don't want them to be built there, but you're beyond that point at that time. And they said, but if this is the only exit to the community where all these hundreds of houses are gonna, this is a dirt road, for example. This road can't even handle what's already there. Can we please have some sort of exit, just something small like that when this is still in the planning phase? And it would be very simple for the BOCC to say, okay, that makes a lot of sense. I don't know how that got overlooked, but let's make sure that happens.
Yeah.
And they're not doing that. They're not even pushing back at that level a lot of times. And so that's something that I would do, and that grassroots candidates could more easily do. It's just like, well, hold on a second. Why don't we do something that makes more sense? Or why don't we make sure that the infrastructure is in place? And why don't we make sure that the drainage and the stormwater the stormwater master plan accounts for this new development here? And so that when the people buy their homes, then they're not flooded out. And when they're going on the roads, they can turn left out of their community and things like that.
What would you say to the people that have the comment, like, that's, you reap what you sow? Like, you chose to move here, you chose to come to an area that was very evidently already overpopulated. You made your bed, now let's lay in it. Not that they don't care, and I'm just being devil's advocate here at this point, is they come in and they're there and they show up to the meetings, which is important. If you want to make changes, one of the best ways you can do that is to show up at a meeting or talk to your commissioners or talk to somebody, right? Like, it's always about conversation. When we stop having conversations, that's when danger happens. That's when things don't ever get done, right?
Yeah.
But they say, well, you came here, it was busy, it was only more populated. For Christ's sake, when you bought your house that was only 3 years old, they were already building 5,000 more of the same house.
Yeah.
Say,
it's like everybody wants to move into a new build home coming down here from another state, but then they're angry that more new homes are built. So there is that level to it where it's just like, well,
to me, I'm like, okay, well,
know.
it's like, that's where I was going back to what I was saying before, is when I say the number one complaint that I see in the field when I'm out there is quality of the construction, which is not great. And then we didn't know this many people were actually going to live here. Well, they built 1,400 houses. And they're all four the same design. You loved it. Why didn't you think, 13,999 other people weren't going to like it too?
So I get that. I do. But at the end of the day, you're not going to make everybody happy. So some people are going to move here and they're going to love it when they get here, and then they'll realize, oh, this is busier than I thought it was going to be, even though they're contributing to that by having moved here. I think it's the responsibility of the people who are making the decisions ultimately. It's the people that are approving the developments should be looking long-term. How is this going to impact the people that live here? We can't go back in time and change what's already been done, but we can move forward in a way that makes more sense.
I guess that's what I'm saying, is we're already starting at a point where we're behind the eight ball.
Yeah.
Like, we're not... I love I do. I honestly do. Because there's a guy on TikTok too. You might be familiar with him. He's called Matt the Welder.
Yeah.
Matt's awesome.
Yeah.
By the way, I've sent you 2 messages about maybe doing a show. But I agree with him. I think that there are so many special interests, not just builders. There are special interests, people that want to do, like, we all love Amazon, but did they need to build 2 facilities here and within 20 miles of each other, basically?
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe. And they're not supplying that many jobs because most of that stuff is robotic now. But having said all that, it's all down to the infrastructure. Like, how do we catch up? How do we make the change? How do we get somebody like you that, if you want to come in and try to help and change things, that's a great ideal. But how, just putting a cog in the machine, it's just you versus 5 other people, right?
Well, it's a start though.
Yeah.
And it hasn't really been done in the past, not in the recent history where there's a grassroots candidate who's a political outsider who's able to get a seat on the commission. And so if we're able to get one, well, then maybe that opens the door for another person to run a similar kind of campaign. And so that's also what I'm looking at doing. It's like, obviously, I want to win the election and do as much good as I can. But at the end of the day, if I can help pave the path for people who are really putting the people of Pasco County first and focusing on that and trying to do the best they can. If ultimately we just pave that path and make it easier, then I'm happy with that as well. But I do want to win the election.
Right.
But oh shoot, what was the question you just asked? Because I was just going to say something to that. Oh, how do we slow it down?
I don't know. We can slow it down.
Right.
We have to learn to manage it.
Yeah.
We have to have some responsibility as the people who live in our county to find the right people to elect. And if, what you're saying is what's something that you want to do. It's a great cause, but how do we slow it down? What do we do to say we're not going to stop what we're doing, but we need to look back and look at where we were unreasonable and how do we fix the problems before we go into making new problems? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, for me, I'm like I said, I'm a dummy. I don't
No.
know if there's a great answer to that. I don't know how do you do it?
It really is about local level government. I mean, really, at the end, it's the people who are making the decisions need to hear how you feel about that.
Yeah.
And so it is showing up at meetings. It is sending emails. It's having conversations. Like, local level politicians are your neighbors.
Right.
You know, like, we can have a conversation. I can hear what your concerns are, and then take that into the meeting where decisions are made that are going to impact the next however many years or generations in this county. So people do have a voice, and it really bothers me when they don't vote in local elections, because it's like they'll just vote in the presidential election, which, yes, important, but there's so many things that are impacted by your local level elections,
Way
from your
more than-
schools to your
yeah.
roads to, the rules on how high your grass can be sometimes. It's just like your everyday life is very much managed by who you have in local positions of representation. And so to that, I would say, don't give up. Don't say my vote doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter. I'm not even going to go out. It's just a local election.
like
No, go out there and
I think
vote.
they say like 10% of the population shows up or something like
Yeah,
that. Right?
yeah. Like,
So,
get out there. Your vote is so much stronger in the
Right.
local elections. It carries so much more weight because it's not millions of people voting.
it's the 10% that votes, and then it's the 90% that turn around and complain probably
Yeah,
about everything,
yeah,
honestly.
yeah.
But yeah, I just think like this issue goes back 50 years. It's not a 20-year thing.
Yep.
It's a 50, 60-year problem that we have had. I love our county. I love everything about it. I love the diversity. There's starting, we've been around a while now, so there's starting to be some pretty good sports going on here. You've got some great athletes that have come out of our area in the last 20 years. And I think that if we had done everything responsibly, it could have been, we wouldn't have had this.
Well,
like I kind of
like
remember, you said, you
where
can't go back and fix it, right?
You can't go back and fix it, but I feel like what's been happening in Pasco County and really like the Wesley Chapel area is like a gold rush mentality.
Yes, a great 100%.
And it's just like, whether it's developers or whoever, they come in, they see this opportunity to make a ton of money, they build, they develop, blah blah blah. They get out, and then they're on their way, and like we're
Next
left
community.
here listening. But it feels very much gold rush, and so I think just trying to slow that down. It's okay to develop. We need hospitals, we need schools, we need infrastructure, we need businesses and places for people to work and to live and to relax. I get it, but if we can slow it down and be more intentional about it and think, okay, what is the rush? If it's not something like a hospital that we like desperately need the beds,
Please build the hospitals and schools.
Yeah,
Please.
yeah.
Build more.
Yeah, but let's just be more intentional. Let's think long term. Let's bring in jobs that are high quality, high paying jobs. Let's bring in technical trades and training institutions and people to learn how to be electricians and plumbers. And like you were saying earlier, I went to, I don't even know what they have in Pasco. I should look into that if they have, a lot of those opportunities
So
here in
they
Pasco.
they have on our side of the county, they have 2 technical schools within about 10 minutes of us, and they're not. It's a K-Tech, which used to be Ridgewood, which is where I went to high school.
Yeah.
That school, huh? It's called Wendell Crane, but it was Ridgewood High School, and before that it was a middle school, and actually it was the first school that had it was middle school through high school. It was one campus in the 70s. That's how long it's been there.
Yeah.
And anyway, that has robotics and engineering and a bunch of stuff in the school. The qualifications to get into that school are pretty narrow. Like you have to have a certain GPA, and you had to have had a certain amount of things done first. And then there's a school directly adjacent to it called Marshman Technical Institute.
I've heard of that one.
Which is where we actually met back in high school,
cool.
because I was a little bit ahead, and she was also a little bit ahead, and she was a sophomore and I was a freshman. God, I was a senior, and we met there. And funny story, our teacher actually married us, which was really cool. Shout out
that's
PK,
really cool.
Peter Kern.
That's awesome.
It was awesome, right? But those 2 schools are, I think, from the outside anyway, they're not funded correctly. you need more people on this side of the county to know they exist.
Yep.
You need more students that want to go, and you need more faculty that wants to work there to teach these kids these very special. The kids that leave Wendell Crinn and Marchman. I will tell you, when I left Marchman, I was ready to go in the workforce. I was in sales, but I cooked. I was at I worked at a country club and stuff like that.
Cool.
And she worked at Publix in the bakery, and that's like what we did. Like, we'll figure it out, you know? But we were equipped to go out and work because college was never going to be my path. I don't love school. Was never that guy. But there are tons of kids out there now that are in the same thing, and there's not enough of those kinds of schools or any kind of school.
Yeah.
And that's, again, local government thing.
I agree. It's something that
I don't even know what we were talking about, but I went on a little.
No, but it's totally right. We have to have those options for people in county. And something I think a lot about is how AI is changing things.
Oh, dude,
and how can we
let's
be.
not even start. Oh, my God.
Well, I mean, however we feel about it, it's going to shift.
It already has.
It's going to shift so many things, so many different industries where people are doing a certain type of work, and that's just not going to be a possibility in the next 10 or 20 years, maybe, or maybe even faster than that.
Faster than that,
So
for sure,
I think about that a lot, and like, how can we not just bring high quality, high paying jobs to the area, but AI proof jobs, jobs that are going to last through the generations, or at least, get people through this landscape of AI, how everything is just shifting and changing. And I hope that people are thinking about that as well.
Well, I also think that's a little bit, I agree with you, but like some of these big conglomerates that come in, like let's use energy companies as an example. Is it Duke out here? Duke Energy?
Duke is out here, and Tico.
Duke and Tico.
And with Lacucci.
Well, Withlacoochee is not a corporate owned. It's
okay,
owned
that's
by
right.
It's owned by the people,
That's
right?
That's right.
And Withlacoochee is constantly trying to hire journeymen to come in and learn how, which is great. If you're like 20 years old, you know what you're doing. Go learn to work on power lines because you could travel the country doing that.
It's
right?
a great job.
It's a great job and pays really, really well.
Yep.
And nobody seems to want to do it. But I don't think that these big companies are hiring at the same rate as like Withlacoochee. I don't know that to be true. Don't come at me. But I just feel like Withlacoochee might be a little bit of an easier job path than it would be to one of these big conglomerates because they've got all these rules set in place.
Yeah.
Not that Withlacoochee doesn't, but I'm just saying part of that is also the issue is what kind of jobs are we going to bring? What kind of companies are going to come in? We don't want a Raytheon plant here.
Right.
Personally, I don't want that. I don't want Monsanto to come in and build some type of, lard factory or whatever it is they want to, I don't want to have those kind of businesses in here because we already have enough problems with Swift Mud as it is. And whether or not they're regulating what's going on half the time, there are a lot of not necessarily would be your issues, but just stuff that has to also be addressed because it's not just D.R. Horton and those
Right.
guys that want to come in and build. It's everything that gets done before it to pave the way for that to happen. And that starts with all those big guys that want to build this and they want to have this and they want to own the energy and they want to own this and they want. It's exhausting to think about.
It
That's why I
is.
try not to. That's why I try not to.
It is.
She's smiling because she knows I could go on for hours about it. Yeah,
She's like, we hit a special interest topic.
yeah. But it's absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
And I think on the surface, what you're saying sounds great. And I hope that if you get elected, you can make those things happen. You know this because it's in every time you post a video, somebody's in the comments saying you're never going to win on a Democratic platform. I'm not asking you to say anything, but I'm just saying is the reason I don't feel like I think if you ran as a Republican, you probably wouldn't win because of the guy that's in there who's been there for many, many years now and is the Republican incumbent in your seat, correct? You don't have to.
He's in his first term.
Okay.
So he's not been there a super long time, but he's a Republican incumbent, yeah.
Right. So would it be, you basically can't run in the same party and oppose
You'd have
each
to
other.
primary. Yeah, you'd have to
Yeah.
primary him.
But it would be
Yeah.
very difficult, basically, right? Yeah, I think it would be. Anyway,
One
so
could argue either
you're
way.
running as Democrat,
Yep.
and some of the stuff that you see online, people don't like. Like you're very open. I love your TikTok, so let's go there real quick. I love your TikTok. I love that you get on there, new Pasco County breaking news.
Yeah.
That's how I found you
Yeah.
months before I even know you were running as a candidate.
Yep.
Which, God bless you for doing that because that's got to be exhausting because you got to deal with idiots like me that want to ask you questions. But what would you say to those people that will just not vote for you because of your party lines? Because sometimes they don't agree with the things you do. Like I think you were at one of those No Kings things, and people chastise you in the comments for that. Like it was like a big deal. And honestly, I think it's kind of a big deal. I think for me, that would be not someplace you'd ever catch me.
Yeah.
dead at, I wouldn't go.
Yeah.
Regardless if you're getting petitions signed or whatever it would be. But how would you appeal to maybe somebody not exactly like me, but somebody who's like, I'm not doing it because of this. And there are tons of people. I may vote for you. I don't know. I still want to see how the process goes because I like what you're saying, right? I don't necessarily care what party you align with as long as you're going to do what's best for the county. How would you appeal to more people that are just not going to vote for you because she's a Democrat? She's
Well, if
going to
they've
do all these
decided
terrible
that,
things.
then they're not. And that's okay. Like if that's what they've decided, then I'm not. So this is a great question. And what I think is really unfortunate is that in Pasco County, we have partisan elections for county
100%.
level. So not every county does that. They not typically, but I don't know what the ratio is, but not every county where you have to declare if you're a Republican, Democrat, or an NPA. We do in Pasco County. And the reason why I say I think that's a little unfortunate is because a lot of things county commissioners do doesn't have anything to do with party affiliation, really. By and large, we're talking about development and roads and infrastructure and making sure our schools are funded and making sure we're thinking long term about how can we bring in jobs and make sure that the people in this county can live successfully and thrive in their environment. That to me doesn't have a whole lot to do with party politics, and it certainly isn't making decisions about things at the state level or at the national level that people get really worked up about. So and you'll notice on my TikToks, I try not to talk about party very often at all.
I appreciate.
Because I don't think that it really has a huge impact. A little impact, but I don't think it has a huge impact.
I didn't know until I read the comments.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, she's just going to run. I didn't know.
But I have to balance it though, because if I had my way, I wouldn't mention it at all, because I don't think that it's part of the job description, really. Right. I don't think it's part of it, a big enough part of it to make a difference to talk about it. But I do have to mention it sometimes, because when they go to the ballot box, they're going to see a D next to my name. Yeah. And that can't be the time where they're like, oh my gosh, that's such a surprise to me. They have to know.
To me,
yeah. So I do try to balance really not focusing on that, because I don't feel like it needs to be focused on with the issues that county commissioners work on, but having to acknowledge it, because that's what, I'm a registered Democrat, and that's how I vote in national elections, and that's how I've been a registered Democrat for a long time. I was a Republican before that. I was raised in a Republican family, and I think that's a very personal decision on how you want to cast your votes at the national and state levels. And so I don't have any shame about my party affiliation. But what I say to people in Pasco is this, there are more registered Republicans than Democrats. Yeah. There are about 100,000 registered Dems, about 100,000 independents, and about 170,000 registered Republicans. So I certainly, to win the election, have to capture Dems, independents, and some Republicans. And so I just say to the people who are just tired of the status quo in Pasco, forget party labels for a second.
Yeah.
Are you happy with the way things have been going? Because the county commission has been run by Republicans for the past 20 years. There hasn't been a Democrat elected since 2006. And as much as I don't want to make it about party, if you want something different, maybe try something different. Or maybe it's not about party for you, and you're like, you know what? I don't care about party, but I don't want somebody who's funded by big developers. And so then I'll go with this grassroots campaign.
Right.
Or it's I don't want somebody who's been an insider in Pasco County politics forever. So maybe that's the reason they choose to vote for me. And so there could be any different reason for it. But at the end of the day, I am just a regular working class mom who cares about our schools and who cares about the safety of our roads and who cares about people's houses who flood. That hurts my heart when I see houses in Zephyr Hills or on the west side of the county after the storms that sat in water for months. That is ultimately what made me okay, we're doing this now, because it hurts my heart to see people who don't have any other options. They don't have anywhere else to go. There weren't services, and they were really left out. I don't want to say left out to dry, but kind of, Well,
and that is part of what my next question was going to be, is what made you do it? And I kind of know, because I saw kind of what you said, this is it. This is kind of the final straw. And that was the excessive flooding that was happening. In my entire life, I've never, and you've heard this too, those areas that flooded in Zephyr Hills should have never, ever flooded. Yeah. And that's a water management issue.
It is.
Absolutely. They report to the BOC, right?
Yeah.
So,
yeah. So, I mean,
I know that's what pushed you over the edge.
It is.
So, I mean, that's going to be an issue that is, again, it's not something that you or your commission had done. It's the lack of action prior to that.
Yeah.
How do you start that fire again?
Yeah.
Say, hey, there's the issue.
That is what really sent me over the edge. Yeah. It's just these people are just trying to live their lives, and they didn't ask for all of this crazy stuff that's contributing to the flooding. And you know what? It rained a lot. There were storms. So that's part of it. And I'll give everybody that. But it's not just the storms. It's not just the rain. It's also the fact that the stormwater master plan hadn't been updated in 20 years.
Yep.
And I found that out because I was doing some digging on the Pasco County website, because I was thinking, what is the plan for this? I saw that happening and thought, what is the plan for when this kind of thing happens?
Was to put giant pumps out and put it into places that will never hold the water. That was definitely not the plan.
Yeah.
But that's what they did.
But so then I was like following this trail of breadcrumbs with the stormwater master plan, and I kind of like got in deep with it, and I went to the meetings and things like that. And it's like they're finally updating it now, but it's been 20 years. And I did some research, like how often should these be updated in an area that's growing at this rate? And it's every 3 to 5 years. And that way you can have ongoing projects to address whatever issues are coming up with the ongoing development.
Not trying to fix it.
And it's a matter of political will. So that's the kind of thing. It's like you need somebody on there, or lots of people on there saying, are we thinking about disaster preparedness? What are we doing for that? What are our plans for that? Okay, our population has increased by 200,000 people. So we need to go back to this plan that maybe we thought it was going to last 10 years, but we have to account, like, you have to look at the whole picture. We've got all these extra people that we didn't account for. So let's go back to the plan and make sure that we're taking care of people. And so you can't go back in time, but what I can do is focus on stormwater planning moving forward, climate preparedness moving forward, infrastructure moving forward, and public transportation. Like, what can we do at that? Because it's not set up in a super conducive way for the people who need to use it. I was just meeting with Family Support Services, which is the foster care agency for Pasco and Pinellas counties. And so just like a simple thing like public transportation, right? Because they're talking about, like, they're trying to reunify their foster care youth with the biological parents. And sometimes those biological parents don't have transportation.
Right.
And so how do they get to these mandatory meetings, or these meetings that they have to go to in order to reestablish blah, blah, blah connection and work on their plan to get their kids back, if they can't get there and there isn't a great bus route and there's not really public transportation options that are going to work for them? And so that's just one little example, of like how that plays out in our communities, where we just need to think about how can you can't please everybody. Like, we're not going to solve all of the world's problems with one term of a county commissioner. I get that, but we can try to set things in action, set a course of action that is more intentional.
But by doing that, aren't we putting more strain on the already underperforming system? Like, if we're not set up to do it, like you said now, and we say, oh man, we got to help these people that can't get to their kids because they've been taken for one reason or another, or whatever it is, and then we're going to ask the county or the city or the state to pick it up, which we're already having a hard time with. Why would we want to do that?
Well,
like, what would be why would, like, somebody that maybe doesn't agree with everything you're saying, why would they go, I'm going to vote for her, I love everything she's saying, but she wants to appropriate more funds to make sure that people who have their ideas taken away wants to get to. I'm not saying that would happen.
Right.
My devil's advocate here is, again, is like, why? Like, if we already can't do it with the people that want to have the ability to take the buses and do these things, and yes, they don't have cars and all that stuff, and I get all that, but we already can't take care of what we already have.
So what you see if you see public buses is really low ridership. Right? There's not a lot of people on the buses. And so there's not a lot of people paying the fares to cover adding extra bus stops or adding extra routes or having extra buses and things like that. And so maybe the answer is let's brainstorm ways to increase ridership. And what does that look like? Because communities have done it across the nation. They've figured out the public transportation thing, and it really came down to increasing ridership, increasing people who were paying the fares. And so there's lots of different ways that you can try to do this, but it's not always about, can I get more money from the government? Sometimes it's about that, and sometimes that's necessary. But I think that's why we need new fresh faces in there too, to think about different types of solutions. So what kind of programs can we put into place if we add a stopover by PHSC or going, just for example, where who needs public transportation? Is it college students? Is it people working in particular parts of the community? And are we serving that area? Would there be more riders if we added this extra stop over here? Would that increase ridership? Or can we have like grants or vouchers for a certain period of time? And I think I've heard them doing this, like during the summer, they were giving students vouchers to get on the buses. And so that's probably what they're trying to do, because what happens when you've never ridden a public bus? you're not going to get on one. Like, you're not going to go out of your way. If I've never ridden a public bus anywhere, I'm not
Right.
going to go get on one now because it's out of my comfort zone. But if you develop programs that bring more people on them, get them more comfortable with using public transportation so that maybe after their summer voucher wears off, now they're going to be a paying customer, then there's just out of the box solutions that you can
Well,
think about.
I think in Pasco, and I know this because of my networking and stuff I do, every household has an average of 2.5 cars. So the chances of you and I maybe getting on a public bus are very limited. So it sounds like we already have the want. We already have the people that probably need to take it, but maybe can't afford it. I'm not trying to pick on this one subject, but it might be a pretty good one. They maybe can't afford it, or like you said, are afraid to ride the bus for whatever reason it might be. Set aside national incidents right now, but I don't want to ride the bus because I've never done it. It doesn't go anywhere I want to go. It doesn't do this, doesn't do that. Who pays for the advertisement for that to happen to people to come in? Because the buses admittedly are not making money, right? They're costing money at some point. So how much more money do you dump on that to get ridership up? Because listen, if this area, like they're building a master plan community over on Suncoast and Ridge Road. It's Evangeline. Is that what it's called? And that's supposed to be a master, and it's a community that's completely all by itself. Like it's part of it's on the roads, but they're going to have their own little trolleys and all this other stuff ultimately in 10 or 15 years. Hospital stores, everything.
Okay.
Again, I don't know if this was a rapid growth thing. People came here, they already have the cars, they don't need to go on the bus. Who wants to go to the mall on a bus, right? When I was a kid, people rode the bus to Gulfview Square Mall. You'd see people come down on the bus like crazy. What is it?
Well, I lived on the other side.
Yeah,
I lived by Trinity.
you got to talk to that. Otherwise, it's going to be echoey.
Got like 10 more minutes.
Okay, cool. Yeah, we're almost done.
Okay.
I lived in Trinity.
Yeah.
So, and my grandmother never drove a day in her life. And she used to take the bus to Gulfview Square Mall when I was a child. But she would have to get off at one stop to get onto another bus to get all the way to Gulfview Square Mall
Yeah.
at one point.
Well, that's what she's saying. Yeah.
Because the routes are broken.
Yep.
They don't necessarily take people where they need to go. And that's
Yeah.
how it's always been here. That's always been the problem. And they've never fixed it.
And like what you're saying sounds
I'm just
reasonable.
I'm just a big fan of
Yeah.
thinking outside of the box,
Absolutely.
but not reinventing the wheel.
right.
You know, like there are communities across this country who have figured this out well, and
States that have figured it out.
Yeah, and I think
Arizona's
that
a
we
really
could-
good example of that.
right. And I read a case study out of Seattle, Washington a while back where they were looking at their public transportation. I don't know how old that was, but there's people that have done it,
Yeah.
and we can take their learnings and adapt it and try to make it work here. And it may require some level of investment, right, to
Yeah.
advertise or whatever, but it might really pay off in the short term. And those are the kinds of things that I just would like to see more of in local government. People thinking about problems in a little bit of a different way and not
Yeah,
just jumping
I
to,
agree.
oh, let's just tax people more. Like,
I agree with you.
Let's look around a little bit and
Yeah.
see what we can come up with.
And also how we're already spending the money we have. Like,
Yeah.
what are we doing with the money that we do have?
Yeah,
Are we using it the right way?
exactly.
And especially if they abolish the
Property
taxes like they're talking about.
That's going to be a whole other conversation.
It could be one or two things. It could be really good or really bad. I'm on the fence about it because I don't know enough about it to be educated on it, if I'm
Yeah.
being honest. So yeah, like you're saying, listen, I'm going to appeal to everybody here for a second. As a general statement here, I am not a Democrat. I'm a registered Republican, but a lot of what you're saying makes sense. If you vote based off of what color hat you put on, or what, where places you go, or we're never going to get anywhere. There's never going. Everybody, I think, could agree we want progression as a local government. Pasco, if you're a Pasconian, and there's a lot of us out here who hate if we don't want to see our beautiful Pasco continue to get eaten up by developers who are paying the commissioners, who have their hands in the new things. There's lots of stuff coming along here that I'm sure we all don't even know about. It's a great opportunity for you to vote for somebody different. You don't have to like where she goes to get her petition signed. You don't have to like that. I mean, let's be honest. If I needed somebody to sign something for me, I'd probably go anywhere I could to get people to sign up. I'm just being honest, right? So you got to do what you're going to do, because the end goal here is for Stephanie to come in and make a change that's meaningful. And at least if it's like you're paving the road. If you don't get it done, maybe the next person will.
Yeah.
Or maybe you'll be able to change the hearts and minds of some people. And I think that's completely admirable. I think what you're trying to do is fantastic. And I personally hope that you do the best you can doing that, because this side of Pasco, where you're going to be sitting, the changes that are going to be happening, even though we're developed now, it can be worse. There are still tons of open space. 52 is a really good
There's
example.
There's still a lot of opportunity to do good things. And
with what we're going to do.
Exactly.
Because we can't fix what we've done.
Yeah.
But moving forward, we can try to make things a little better.
Well said.
I have one last question for you, and we're going to get out of here, because honestly, we can keep going. But I know we've got time that we have to be on and stuff like that. So I'm going to ask you a question that I ask all my guests, because our show is really about how to help people and make them think about their lives. And thank you so much for sharing your life story with us and telling us why you decided to do something which I think is nuts. To put yourself out there,
Same.
to run for something that very few people probably even are aware of as an option. I think it's awesome. And I think, like, again, I'm going to shout out your TikTok. You've got like, what, 4,000 or 5,000 followers on TikTok?
11,600 now.
Oh my God.
We've been doing some growing.
Let's go. That's amazing. So people are seeing your message.
Yeah.
Listen to the message. Don't listen to her political affiliation. I'm going to say she seems like a pretty normal person to me, and I'm not exactly normal. So whatever kind of endorsement that is.
I appreciate that very much.
Take it at what you will.
Yeah.
So I have a question I always ask every guest. And we've already established that you like movies, right? You've seen movies in your life.
I've seen them.
You've seen them, right?
I'm no buff.
Okay.
So I'm going to try to answer this.
You know this one.
Okay.
You know this one. Back to the Future.
Okay.
You know that movie?
Marty McFly.
Marty McFly, right?
And Doc McStuffins.
Doc
McStevens.
No.
Wait,
no,
what's
no,
his name?
it's not Doc Brown.
Yep, that was my next guess.
So they travel back in time. That's the whole emphasis of the movie, right?
Uh-huh.
Marty gets in his DeLorean that has a flux capacitor in it, and he accidentally goes back to the time when his parents met.
Oh, Lord. Okay.
Okay, right?
Okay.
So that's the premise of the movie if you don't know, okay?
Yeah.
My real question to you is, if you could go back in time to your 16-year-old self,
Oh.
okay? And you could tell 16-year-old Stephanie some very sage advice that would not change your life. It wouldn't change where you're at right now. But if it could just make your journey to where you're at today, that's been full of anything, almost anything you could think of, your life sounds like it's been full of it. From growing up the way you did, to being in the military, to having a near, fatal incident with your son, to divorcing, to moving, to picking up and getting out of it, just coming to follow your dream to come to the Sunshine State, right? Good old Pasco County.
Heck yeah.
So if you could go back and tell the 16-year-old version of yourself something, what would it be?
Oh my gosh.
I love it. I always get people.
You need the music. Do, do, do. Because I have to think about it for a second.
That's okay. So what happens is this happens, and then I cut it up so that everybody thinks you answer right away.
Perfect.
So,
Perfect. Yeah. Oh my gosh. My 16-year-old self. What's coming to mind is be brave. There were a lot of moments in life, in my younger days, where I shied away from saying things that needed to be said, or doing things that needed to be done, or just trusting that I knew the right thing to do. And so I think that boils down to trusting yourself and be brave. Like, be bold, brave and bold. Even as a 16-year-old or a young adult, you're here for a reason. Everybody's here for a reason. We all have our mission in life, and whatever your religious or spiritual or cultural beliefs are, I think that we all are here for a reason, and we're here, in my opinion, to find out what our skills and our strengths are and to do as much good with that as we can. And sometimes that's scary. And sometimes we shy away from that, or we have imposter syndrome and we think somebody else is going to do that better, or somebody else is more qualified, or has more money, or has more connections, And so I think it took me, I'm 40 now, and it took me until probably mid-30s to mostly kick that. That's still there a little bit. I think that's always there for me, maybe not for everybody. But if I could boil it down to just a couple words, it's be brave and know that whatever you're doing on your path, if you're doing it with integrity, then that's what you should be doing. And you are qualified and good enough to do it.
That's really good. I'm not going to lie. That was probably one of the best answers I've gotten. So that was good.
No, thank you.
That was really good.
It's hard to contextualize all of that,
It
you
is.
know, in the
Yeah,
moment.
it's
So
hard to think
thank
about.
you for that question. That was a good question.
And that's what we always say too. Because again, I'm going to sound like a broken record here. I don't know what I'm doing. Like we had this vision of what we could do for people, and I said, how can we execute that? And I thought the best way to do that was to ask other people about their lives.
Yeah.
Because with all the things that we've been through, it made sense for us to try to help somebody along the way.
Yeah.
And one day when we're, up there in the top 10 of podcasts, people will look back at these shows and go, man, what do they have to say then, you know? So I thank you so much for coming on and giving us your time. And I really appreciate the heck out of it because you didn't have to do this.
I appreciate you having me here.
Better things to do with your life than come talk to some idiot.
This has been great. I'm so glad we were able to.
Yeah. Well, let's tell everybody how we can vote for you. How about that?
Okay, so the election's November 2026. So we got a little ways to go here, but November 2026 you can vote. You can follow me on all socials at Stephanie for Pasco, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube now, which I'm not very good at.
YouTube's fickled.
Yeah. I just, but you can find me there at Stephanie for Pasco or StephanieVasquez.com. Just, be open-minded, come learn, see if you align with the things that I'm talking about. And if you do, let's connect. Feel free to ask questions. I'm happy to chat with people and answer questions as well.
That's how you end up here, because I asked you a very pointed question, and you're like, this is what I would do. And I'm like,
oh, that's right. That was you. I
can get into that. I'm like, okay, very good.
Yeah.
Any place that you got any events coming up, any fundraisers, anything like that we need to know about?
I do have a fundraiser on.
Let's tell everybody about it.
Yeah. I know. I'm not good at self-promotion.
That's what
a
I'm
lot
here
of times. I appreciate that. I have a fundraiser on November 1st, and so I'm doing that. It's going to be in Newport Richey. Would love for you guys to attend if you'd like, at the Timber Greens Country Club.
Know where that is.
I'm going to have hors d'oeuvres, and it's just going to be a nice time. I'm trying to find some live music to be there, and it's not going to be like a rally. I'll say a few words, and I'm going to have somebody from Family Support Services, the foster care agency, there to say a few words. And I'm having all guests bring one unopened toy to donate to foster care youth in Pasco County. We always like to find a way to give back in any events that I'm hosting, because I think that's why I want to work for the public. That's the whole point of it, is to help uplift and give back. So November 1st, they can find out more on my website, StephanieVasquez.com. If you can't make it, you can always donate. That's always helpful to campaigns, especially grassroots campaigns. Donations are what's going to help us get this message out.
And how many more petitions do you need signed?
A lot more. So we need 4,000 total, and we're at around 400 right now. But we have probably a year still, almost a year to get them.
We're at the beginning.
Yeah.
And you got 11,000 followers now.
That's right.
So,
if they all just sign a petition. Well, you have to be a Pasco County registered voter to sign, of any party.
And you can vote all through the county.
Yep,
right?
countywide election.
So we can vote on our side or anywhere else.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know that. It's District 2.
You know why I know that?
Did I tell you in a TikTok video?
Yeah. You made a video. And
I have to do a lot of educating on that because people don't know that.
I'm a big dummy. I don't know what I'm doing.
I'm glad the videos are working.
Yeah, it's done. It's doing its job. Yeah. Okay, well, thank you.
Awesome.
And thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of the Permanent Mark Podcast. Remember, you can do it. There is absolutely nothing stopping you from whatever it is you think you want to do, whether it's running for a BOC or if it's starting your own show, talking to cameras and looking at lights and microphones and whatever it might be. And you never know where your life is going to take you. So just go out there and do it. Thank you guys. God bless and have a good night.
Thank you so much. Awesome. This is awesome, guys.
United Warrior. At first, it sounds so simple, but it's much more. Here in the USA, we are meant to be united. But who is a warrior? Of course, our military, police, firefighters, first responders, doctors, and nurses. They are warriors, and we honor them. But being a warrior goes beyond the uniform. It's the cancer survivor who refuses to give up, the child battling autism with courage every single day, the mother living with MS, the veteran facing PTSD, the father recovering from a traumatic brain injury. They are all warriors too. Every morning they rise, they fight, and they defy the odds. United Warrior is about recognizing all of them, the heroes seen and unseen, because together we are stronger. Learn more and show your support at UnitedWarriorApparel.com. That's UnitedWarriorApparel.com.
Yeah. Please tell me that I can't, that I won't, that I fail, that I'll never make it out, yeah. Please tell me all the bad, never good. Fill my head full of every single doubt, yeah. Please say any negative thoughts. I pop off when I hear people say I cannot. I get off to the thought of proving everyone wrong. I won't stop to the top, so you better back off and get lost.